Salamun alaikum, dear brothers and sisters in Islam and humanity. Welcome to the seventh episode of alhaq.com podcast, where we peel the layers of darknesses with the light of the Quran. Today, I'd like to talk to you about human value. How do you measure the value of a human being? Nowadays, we all understand that there is a rise in AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and the kind. When you have computers able to do the work of 1,000 people, in my field, for example, in the computer field, we have hypothetically, let's say there are 10 million jobs. With the advent of AI and its rise, I would estimate at least 3 million jobs to 5 million jobs, the heavy load being lifted by AI. It's not only in the IT field. We're talking medicine, law, accounting, even regulated industry. In down the future, we'll see a rise in more and more software taking over those types of tasks. What does that do to the human capital? It reduces the demand and increases the supply. Soon enough, people will start outbidding each other to work for less wages. Society nowadays values a human being by what the human being can provide for the society in terms of dollars or in terms of the currency that whichever country they reside in. So in the beginning, let's say the brain related jobs are going to get taken over. And then what happens next is that industry, the workers are going to shift. They're going to say, yeah, okay, fine. That we invested all our lives into has now been taken over. Let's switch. Maybe we can do manual labor. We can do construction. We can do handyman work. With the influx of such people going to other industries, those other industries will also get flooded. There will be some people who will say, we just want to live a subsistent life. Let's just get a piece of land, get the skills to grow our own crops, our own animals, and we'll just live off the grid. Now, government is not going to let you live in peace in that condition. They're going to tax you. In Florida, the governor is trying to pass legislation that make property taxes go away, at least for the local residents and not for corporations. What's the next step? We're thinking that maybe in the major cities, we can switch over to manual jobs. There's a robot revolution that's coming right behind the AI revolution. Robots are taking over more and more jobs. Automation is going to be taking over that as well. Imagine at this current point in our history, let's say the AI is capable of taking all brain related jobs, hypothetically. If that was the case today, they're not going to let you know about it. You're not going to feel the impact of that right away because that will create widespread panic. And the MO of the system is to slow boil the population. So they're going to let us get comfortable. AI is your friend, robots are your friend, so on and so forth. I don't mean to beat the drum of doom and gloom, but it's better for us to be prepared. Forearmed, that called Abdullah? Do you remember that analogy? Forewarned, it's forearmed, right?
I don't think I've ever
So
heard that.
okay. So the reason I'm talking to you guys about this is so that we can get prepared. If we're wrong, everything turns out for the best, great. But
Yeah.
if it doesn't, at least we're. And there's a lot of things that we need to work on in order for us to overcome all the divisions that have been sowed into us, into our very psyche, into the very fabric of our society, where everything that we need, we have to go to the man. We have to go to Uncle Sam. We have to go to the government. We can't trust each other. We have to trust the banks. We can't grow our foods. We have to go to the supermarket. It becomes being a convenience to being a requirement and then becoming dependent on it, where you can't subsist without it.
Can I
So,
give an example?
yes, please go ahead.
One example would be how in America we had automobiles before. If you wanted to get to one side of the country to the other, you had to either rely on the transcontinental railway or just get on a horse and buggy and just go on the open trail. Then, as cars and large infrastructure for the automobiles started to take place, it got to the point where the infrastructure they already had to go around the cars that are being made. And then the very life that you're living in had to also be built around those cars as well, to where you need a car to survive in America, essentially.
Right.
If you say to your work, "Oh yeah, I don't have a car, I can't drive there," like, okay, we're not.
That's right. So now there are places, if you look for real estate, it'll give you a rating of the need for transportation between 1 and 10. They'll say, for example, you need a car, rating number 7. So it becomes a need. How much humans needed 1,000 years ago has exponentially increased today. There's a lot more need. So what I'm getting at is that the society that we're living in, it has created mechanisms through which we we no longer rely on the old mechanisms. So let's say in the ancient world, a group of people decided to move. They would rely on each other's numbers to bring safety to the caravan when you're moving from one place to the next, right? So that safety would then ensure that highway robbers, etc., would have something to worry about if they decided to attack. They would have to rely on each other, have to depend on each other. Now you'll see a little bit of that happening when you have people from one country migrating to another country. You go to the other country and you see, I don't see anybody from my place. I don't see any my compatriots in this new land. So they feel alone. Then they finally meet one or two people from their home country and they're overjoyed. Wow, I see one of our own. And so that joy they felt in this new place, they never felt in their when were in back home, right? So back home, let's say in India, we have over 1.5 billion people. How come you weren't so excited to see Indians in India, right? So the point that I'm making is that in the new world, the system is king. Everything is it's matrix, the matrix. Everybody's plugged into the matrix, right? So that is happening in real life, and some people don't realize it. Many people do realize it, but they don't see a way out. They don't see there's a path, a light at the end of the tunnel that we can't escape it. They just see us slowly regressing into that eventual doom. We can see the doom in the fire in front of us. We just have to keep marching towards it. They have a saying that if you find yourself at the bottom of the pit, stop
Only
digging.
way is up.
The
Oh, that
first
too.
thing. What else?
I was thinking the only way is up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, digging, right? So that's the spirit in which I'd like to introduce our first guest. Talking with our first guest, Dr. Omar Zaid, requires a deep dive into his unique blend of medical background, Islamic scholarship, and geopolitical critique. He is known for being unfiltered and addressing taboo topics that bridge the gap between theology, the occult, and the modern power structure. I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Omar Zaid.
Well, thank you very much, Brother Omar, and thank you very much, Abdullah, for inviting me. It's a pleasure. Thank you. I sort of kind of sitting this kind of placed on the shelf,
That's
We're not
true.
in politics anymore. I'm not involved in academia
Right.
anymore, but I am involved in some of the things that you just mentioned. And so maybe, inshallah, God give me some points of interest that I can share with people on your program that will help them to understand the time
Inshallah.
that we are now living,
Right.
inshallah. So,
Bismillah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, O Lord, for inviting me here, and thank us for your truth and your wisdom. Ameen. So, probably some questions maybe lined up for me. So, Let's get at them.
Absolutely. So Dr. Zaid is a physician, MD, who converted to Islam. This dual perspective, Western scientific training and Eastern Islamic spirituality, is central to his worldview. He's written books, key books like The Hand of Iblis, Islam in the Shadow of the New World Order, The Taqwa of Marriage, Trinity, the Metamorphosis of Myth, a deep dive into comparative religion and the origin of Christian dogma. So, Dr. Zaid, I'd like to start with learning a little bit more about your background. Your Let's go all the way back to your childhood and your parents' upbringing, how that
Mhm.
affected your worldview.
Well, that's a loaded question. My goodness me. Um, yeah, we're all by our childhood experiences right through to the time that we leave this world. So all of that has some bearing on who it is that you're seeing before you, speaking on this internet device. So, yeah, I'm born a Polish, sort of Polish lock, stock, and barrel. And some
Oh,
of I kind of met Germany was I was in the army. He said, "Well, I recognize your name. There were Jews in Poland at that time. I saw one of them being murdered by the brown shirts
mm,
for you see." So that I was in a library. I was signing out a book, and the guy recognized my name. It was a Jewish fellow. He was the librarian. So I come from that background. My mother was Irish and French, and I was born and raised in a Catholic upbringing. I realized very early on, at the age of 12 or so, that the Catholics were hypocrites. They were genuine hypocrites and genuinely intended to be hypocrites in their intentions, but they were still teaching some things and then practicing other things that are just from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's not from the tree of life. So I saw that very, very early. Nobody explained that to me. It was my fitra breaking through. It was my life that I received from our source creator, as Bilal likes to say, that he that is breaking forth. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was just rebelling, as all, I think, suitable adolescents should. They should when they see their parents are not following the truth. Now, that's something that you gentlemen are very interested in. You see, that's why you're having these sessions. You're looking for truth and to discuss the truth as best as I can say from an Islamic perspective, bringing in some of the traditions that I really do appreciate, is that the Prophet is said to say, discussing the truth is better than prayer. Ah, well, when I went on that, I said, well, gosh, well, that puts me in mind of what I was thinking as an adolescent when I was thinking of Catholic parents, you see. They were doing something that doesn't make any sense, and now the Muslims are doing something doesn't make any sense to me, you see. They're all running around 5 times a day doing all this namaz, and nobody's talking about the truth. Ah, oh. Matter of fact, the more I realized what was taking place in Islam, because nobody preached to me about Islam. I read Yusuf Ali's translation, and after that, I closed the book and I was Muslim. Nobody preached to me. I just became Muslim just by reading the Quran. Nobody talked to me about anything about Islam. About the only thing I knew about Muslim was the line of the desert, the Libya. Yeah, that's why I took his name when I became a Muslim, because I really admired that man. And I said, well, he's one of the last of the old traditionalists, a real Sufi who's actually fighting against the system. And he did. He was against the system for 25 years, and it was only because the Muslim Brotherhoods abandoned him that he lost, you see. And nobody wants to talk about these truths in Islam, you see. So I've abandoned going to the masjid, to tell you the truth, because I want to sit with people who go up to the front line. They abuse their women. They don't want to talk about the truth, and they think they're being acceptable to God. No, no, no. That's not acceptable to God either, even to this day. Now, oh, yeah. So you see, what alarm you woke up here by asking me that question. You see that? Now, I I saw in both faiths. I saw it in the Jewish faith as I'm coming along all this time. And the thing of it is that I got lost, as most adolescents get lost. I wrote a paper when I was 13 years old. It run the essay contest when I was in eighth grade, and I got myself a kind of all kinds of other things for writing this paper. But nobody answered my question. And what was the paper on? Well, I'm 13 years old, and this is in 1963. All right, so it's 1962. This is when the Kennedys were killed and all that sort of stuff was taking place. And so I wrote a essay saying, why did Washington, D.C. give China to the communists? All right, that was the essay that I wrote. And it was, I don't know, 5 or 6 pages, something like that. And I won the contest. But, my question, you see, why did that happen? So at the age of 13, I gave up academic pursuits because there was no discussion. Now, do you understand what I'm saying? That there's no discussion of the truth. It's not allowed. Okay, so if not allowed, what can you do in that society? Because Allah is the source of all truth. And if you say in the night prayer you're going to honor Allah and you don't talk about the truth, you can't honor Allah, you see. So I'm just saying, okay, well, what's happening in Iran here and in the Middle East? And I'm saying, oh, gosh, well, don't let me get started with the Jews. Okay, we can do it another time. But what I can see here is this, that all three of these monotheistic faiths are killing each other because they don't discuss the truth.
That's true.
It's real simple.
Right.
And if you don't discuss the truth with your offspring, with your children, which is the fruit of the tree of life, isn't it? Yeah? Isn't that what it's all about? Isn't that what it's all about? Of course it is. And if you don't discuss the truth with your children, you're going to lose them. So I'm very interested to see you and your son coming together here in this forum to discuss the truth and to invite someone like me who's not scared of the truth. Oh, right. Gosh, you see, to invite someone me on your program, I say, well, gosh, Allah must be all of us here. So that means we have to talk to some people who are tuning in to us now, isn't it?
That's true.
All right. Now, you see, I don't backseat to other people's opinion. Mm-hmm. Okay. No, if I'm wrong, I've been wrong on several things so far, even about Islam, and I had to repent. Well, that's what we're supposed to do. So, oh yeah, listen to. If you don't discuss the truth and you don't discover what's false, how can you repent?
That's true.
No, you can't. So this is a trick of the enemy to get people to be politically correct in all of their forums.
Right.
You see. So that's why everybody's upset now. We're all upset, and well, I like to use this old Twainian term, tarnation. You see,
tarnation. What tarnation?
What tarnation? It's an old 19th century American term. What tarnation? It actually means damnation, you see.
Right.
So it's one of their nice words to say tarnation. So I write a letter to the editor here every once in a while, and I say, "Oh, my tarnations are picking up again," you know. And these Nabi does are there to keep us damned.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. You can be damned in this life, or you could be damned in the next life. You can be damned in both. Okay. You can bring hell into your life by not discussing the truth and not repenting. Okay.
Right.
So That's my answer to your to your first question. To tell you where I
Right.
came from. Okay,
Okay.
so I got up when I was 13 years old. My
Right.
tarnations gave me this essay to write to the lesson, and my tarnations even exploded after nobody answered my questions. So I stopped doing any academic work. I still got the academic scholarship and all this sort of thing, but I didn't take any interest in it anymore because I
Mm.
said, hey, well, if nobody's discussing the truth, nobody's interested in the truth, what good is the truth? Oh, isn't that what I think? Young people's going to say, well, the truth, nobody's interested in the truth, so I just put the truth aside and
Yeah.
we'll go on about our life. And
You
so that
present them the truth, and then they'll tell you, "Here's an award. Now go back to your house."
that's right. So you've got all these Boy Scouts out there. They're all putting their uniforms on, all their medals and everything, and they got all these medals for being a good Boy Scout, and nobody's talking about the truth. And when you do
Mm,
bring the truth up, you're going to be marginalized.
that's true.
And so that happens. Philosophers somewhere along the line. I mean, philosophy is a love of what? Wisdom. And
Right.
wisdom is what? Wisdom is based on the truth, and all truth comes from God. It doesn't come from us. Oh, so that's a division.
So even
That's
the discovery of the truth comes from God.
yes. The discovery of it is coming from God. That's why the prophet said the discussion of truth is better than prayer. Because when you go to prayer, okay, I everyone, I don't, my Mac doesn't let me anymore, but the Mass, that's fine. There's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with it. It's okay. But doing it 5 times a day and then doing it 7, 8 times if you want to get really special with God, that's a little bit much. That's
Right.
hyperactive. Okay. That's manic. That's what it
Clinically
is.
speaking.
And when it's this salam, whoever just joined us, the salam is this is when you're manic, you can't regard the truth. You can't really regard it because you're running like a bunch of ants. Well, the ants know what they're doing because they're animals.
Hmm.
They're born into their truth. We're not born into the truth. We have to discover it, and you can't discover it, and you do if you do. Okay. So I discovered all kinds of stuff along the way. And I said, oh my God, they don't talk about the truth. I went to this group. They didn't want to talk about the truth. I went, no, they all established their priesthood organizations. And the only way you can get through in those priesthood organizations is become a priest. Oh God! Well, you have to become a Catholic priest or a Protestant Muslim, or you got to become an imam. Now, this is all this lie from hell. Are you still listen to me? All right, because
Absolutely. Well, let
all
me
right,
just ask you a couple of questions to
yeah, go
interject.
ahead.
So you mentioned your father's was Polish.
Yes, yes.
So dobre wieczór. Ty
Tak, ty
mówisz po
masz.
polsku?
Ty masz. No, my father never learned English. He was one. His older brothers they learned they learned he just learned English. His father he was part of that generation. They wanted him to just speak English. Okay, so
Oh, okay, okay,
I only know a few of the words, and I
okay.
don't remember them. But you understand what I'm saying here. Is this whole about becoming a priest?
Hmm.
This is taken religion. You see, now I'm going to tell something to everybody now, and listen to me very carefully, because the Muslims they don't know what came before. They avoid this, and that's a
Mm,
mistake. See, one of the reasons I became a Muslim after reading the Quran is because I knew what came before. Nobody had to teach me. The Quran, that even as Yusuf Ali's Quran is not the best translation, but there's enough of the Quran that's properly translated there at the elemental level to straighten out all of the fundamental lies. You see, and I saw those straightened out. I became, oh gosh, well, all right, I have to. I'm Muslim now, so and so because I understood what came before. So let me. I'm going to tell you that the Muslims don't know. Muslims don't, and even the Catholics don't know this too.
mm,
See, Israel, it was just used as a Israel is just an analogy. It's an example for the whole world. It's not just someone to take over the world. That's what they want to think. That's because they're living in their own pride, their own life, and they've misread their traditions. But in this tradition, what Moses said to Israel when they finally got out of Pharaoh, when they finally got out of Egypt, and before they went back, they're all back in Egypt now for the most part. But and that was also prophesied as well. But what Moses said to the Jews is, I want you to become a nation of priests.
Wow.
Oh, this is not for Levites. Okay. I
Right.
want you all to become a nation of priests. That's the truth. Okay. So we don't need a priesthood. Every man should be priest in his own house, you see. And they stole that from you. That's a usurpation by the priesthood. They stole it from you. Okay. So if you to someone like and you're seeking advice, you're not coming to a priest. You're just seeking advice from an old fellow who's living on a farm in Kentucky. And you heard his name and he said, oh, maybe he knows something. Well, maybe I do know something. Okay. And this is, I'm sharing with you, we're all priests. Okay. And ladies, I haven't forgotten you. Ladies, you are priestesses. Now, let me tell you what I've learned about the book of Genesis so that I can put this in perspective, because people have forgotten their roots. They've forgotten their future. And because they've forgotten their future, because it's overcome with all this IT stuff and everything that we're doing that's going to replace us in the working force, as you mentioned at the beginning, we're all preoccupied with that and we forget our future. Okay? We are born in the world to become what? The caliph. But this is not one person's job. It's both their jobs, the husband and the wife. All right. So you can't priest without your wife being a priestess. Oh God, now what are you doing? I'm opening up a can of worms here. Yeah. I'm opening up a can of worms about the truth. Okay. So Muslims have not done this. They've left love. God is the absolute perfect admission of love into our life. He put it to us. He put the love and the truth into us. And he puts this into us in the different, okay? The man is in truth. The woman is admiring the man because he's got this wisdom. That's what she loves, the wisdom in the man who is seeking to do the right thing by understanding truth. Then understanding that truth and applying it to his will, he then becomes the priest. So if he's not loved by his wife for doing this thing, he can't become the priest. He can only pretend to be the priest. There's two different things.
Right. I'd just like to mention real quick, would be remiss if we didn't mention Dr. Zaid's wife, Sister Amina. She's an amazing woman in her own right. Would you tell us a little bit about her?
Well, I would invite her to tell her about herself in the meantime. But if you want to hear an interesting story, you can invite me back on the show. I'll tell you how it is that God brought us together. That's an interesting story, and that will show you. I will absolutely demonstrate to you 1/49th of the gift of prophecy. Yeah, we've experienced it. And we don't need to have namaz to do this. Okay, now that's something that people got to get used to, because that's the truth. It's not necessary. So I see that you're becoming Quran only, and so that's why I mentioned that, because we're living proof of it now. So Amina she's from China. She was brought up in China. She was actually one of these girls who was rescued at birth. They were going to murder her, but some woman took pity on her and then raised her herself, adopted her. And as a result of that and her own struggles in China, she received a legacy from this lady who adopted her. And she worked very hard to turn what she received from that lady into some sort of a real estate deal, which then gave her a substantial legacy to come several years ago. Now she's been my student, and I didn't even know she was my student for many years. But she followed me online for many. I probably have lots of students out there I don't even know, but she's one of them, and we got in contact over the years, and finally Allah showed us through many dreams and other visions that we need to do something in America. Now, I didn't want to come back to America, but I was in a difficult situation. So God used us to sort of rescue each difficult personal situations. And the result of that is that everything that I thought I knew by reasoning has panned out to be absolutely true by experience. So I'm experiencing the exponent, this process, climbing the ladder of what they call initiation. And I don't have an initiator except for God, you see. So I don't, when I became a Muslim, everybody asked me if I had a guru. And I said, no, I don't have a guru. Who was your, I didn't. I said, God is my mentor. He's my banker. I already came to that point in my faith at that particular time. So this, we're being initiated someone else is wrong. It's God who does the initiation, and God does the initiation through his relationship with people, through his relationship with your family, through your relationship with your workers, through your relationship with your spouse, through your relationship with your children. All of this stuff is instrumental to our intellect.
Right.
Okay. And we need to learn from that in order to bring together the right and the left brains so that we make the correct judgment, so that we can become a will to what is good and truthful. So we're going back to the truth again. I can't explain, I can't abandon the truth. So if we're talking about it, that means that we are actually approaching God. And when we're approaching God, and the three of us have the right intents here to approach God for the honor of the truth and to glorify him in our own life, we have to learn it, you see. And we're running to God, and God is running to us, you see. If I'm saying anything that maintains your attention, it's not me that's speaking. It is the Spirit of God that's actually working through all of us who are listening right now, you see, because that allows what they call this Rahim grace. So I have experienced with Amina the Rahim grace of an ideal marriage.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And I'm 76 years old. I almost died 3 times. And I'm only experiencing that now. So what does that have to say? Well, that maybe said something about me in my life of making mistakes. Oh, well, yeah. I'm made all mistakes, but I learned from them. And when I learn from this is the purpose that people go to the psychiatrist. They want to learn about themselves. Say, the physician, know yourself. I'm a physician. I'm supposed to know myself. So you learn yourself by going through going to counsel. What are you doing there? You're trying to look into your own mind. You're trying to introspect. You're trying to look what Jung has described, what the Quran has described. When I'm reading Jung, I see Jung in the Quran. I see it
Wow.
right there, you see. So the Quran can only teach you according to what you know. So if you don't know Jung, you don't know he's in there, you see. If you don't know what came before, you don't know what the Quran is correcting. That means you don't have the fundamental idea of what was wrong. And if you don't have the fundamental idea of what was wrong, you're going to repeat the mistake. That's what we're supposed to learn from history. We're not supposed to repeat those mistakes. We're supposed to be progressing towards our reunion with Allah. And that reunion eventually takes place in the hereafter. Okay? But it doesn't mean that you have to live a life of hell just because you're repeating those same mistakes. You see? So I learned a lot about those mistakes, and Amina and I are learning a lot about those mistakes because we're on the same page with regarding becoming Quran only. We're on the same page at leaving these people who cannot talk about the Quran without talking about their traditions, and most of
That's
them are
true.
wrong.
Yeah.
You see, so I can't those people anymore. It's impossible. They're just like a Mormon banging on the door. Let me tell you about Jesus. Please, please stop.
Oh, Joseph's.
Yeah,
Joseph
yeah,
Jr.
yeah. The same. Please stop. I don't want to have anything to do with the people anymore because I have found the Rahim grace and I live with it daily. I don't want anybody to ignore that. Okay. If somebody's come to the road and they got a gun cocked on and they said, I'm going to immunize your children, I just get my gun and I say, okay, let's just have it now. But I don't want to talk about any traditionals. No, I don't want
Right.
to talk about the hadith. No, give me the Quran only. Now, let me say one more thing about the hadith. There are some hadith which are probably legitimate, but nobody in Quran is going to tell you which one they are. The seven or
Right.
8,000 of them. Nobody's going to tell you which one they are because they're all ashamed of their mistakes these last 400 years. So nobody wants to talk about it. Like a politician won't about the Epstein files. No, they won't do it because they're all guilty.
Right.
You see. So it's the same thing with these traditionalists. So I
Really
won't have any.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
deep insight there, Dr. Zaid. I'm very impressed with your level of thought. And I really like the convergence of a lot of the thoughts and the even the people that mentioned, Anthony Quinn, Lion of the Desert.
Oh yeah.
He also came with the message, Hamza ibn, where Ibn Abdul Muttalib.
Mhm.
And in the Lion of the Desert, particularly, my favorite line was when one of his soldiers was about to take aim and
Mhm.
shoot at the Italian soldier was running away.
Right.
Do not shoot prisoners.
Yeah.
We do not shoot prisoners, right? And he said, but they would shoot
They
us.
shoot us.
Are not our
That's it.
teachers. Allah is our teacher. Nobody else who produces these traditions are our teacher. The
Right.
Quran is our teacher. The Quran will explain itself if you get it correctly translated. And that's what the problem is right now, is getting the correct translation. And I'm so glad that you're talking to someone like Moses because he's on the right line to do it that way. But it's a very, very difficult thing to do. And you're running against an awful lot of rejections by the Sunnah. But in any case, Aina and I have been living here in Kentucky, and she's a remarkable woman. She is running her own business here. She's a little bit of a real estate mogul. Just we manage to keep above board, and we don't have to depend upon anyone to give it. We would like, a few people with some muscles to come and help us with the farm work, but that's remained to be seen. So we're living together, and this woman, a series of marriage. I think sometime, I think to put everything at rest for this thing. 'Cause I've been working with this for a long time, this whole thing about marriage, and I think I'm to get an understanding for what it really and truly is. So
it only took you 73 years or 70.
yes, and listen, don't listen. This is a drop in the iceberg of the eternity now, isn't it? My goodness me, and not even a drop. So yeah, we're learning, and we're going to learn forever. That's the idea that I have of heaven. I don't want to go to heaven and just sit on a cloud and say praise to God all the time. No, I want to do some work. My activity, my viva. I wanted to go on. I wanted to work. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to write more books. I wanted to teach more. There's so many millions of us don't know what we're talking about that I want to teach and say, hey, that's what you're dealing with. Yeah. Then I see the smile on their face and then they go off. See? So when you talk to somebody like, you're not talking to mom. I'll talk to you once and I won't see you again for 10 years. That's fine, as long as I put you on the right path. So I have students who come to me and they say, "Oh, I've been on this path now for 5-7 years. I haven't heard all that time." You see, and I took your advice and da 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 da. So happy to see this. Yeah, imams who want you to put stuff in their coin in their basket every year.
Right.
Don't want to talk to those people. They're just boys.
That's true.
They have not been.
I,
Yeah.
I
Well, we
would
just
say just one more thing is about Dr. Zaid's amazing ability to with children as well. My kids, they love him, and they love attending your programs, and I think that's the puzzle. A lot of times when we grow up, we lose our connection with our own youth. And
hmm
then, so a lot of the adults nowadays are unable to connect with the next generation.
hmm
And I'm glad to see that you're able to do that very well.
Well, thank you very much. I'm not with small kids, but you get the latent years, and they're reasonable. I can talk to them. Small kids, I just give them back to the women. Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, you changing now. So anyway, yeah, I that, and you that this is something that's missing from our society now. We try to uh, sort of cooperated with, or we substituted with our church groups and things like that. But it's not real relationship. You have to have a reason for being together. You see, and first of all, the reason for being together is, well, you're born into a family, so that's one reason. So that's a pretty good reason. Now you start out there, then that family branches out, and then you have a trust circle. You see, usually the trust circle is within the family unit, and then if you want to expand that trust circle,
Mhm.
you really have to know a little bit more about your neighbors. Okay. Usually in circles, we don't know more about our neighbors. We just go to the mosque or go to the church. We say, Hallelujah, Jesus, or we say, Alhamdulillah, and we say, Inshallah, and then we go home and listen to we do our namaz and then we go home. We don't really know these people. And if we do know these people, we only know the superficial thing, the things
Superficial.
that you only learn when you're sitting down at the tea shop with the shisha pipe. You're gonna learn things about your neighbor, and you're only gonna learn his opinion. You see, and you're going to learn his opinion of himself. You're very rarely are you going to meet an honest man who's going to say, yeah, I'm up, got to admit it. I got, yeah, I things, and I got to make myself right. I've got to redeem my kareem, like the like Muhammad did. He had to
Mhm.
redeem his kareem. He said, my kareem is now jinn. Well, what's that mean? Well, he obeys me. Oh, is that what he said? So there's Yun. You see, right in the Quran. You have to convert your jinn. So if you don't your neighbor and he's not telling you the truth and he's having all kind of hells in his life and you're still going to pray with him Friday to get your sins forgiven so you can go and sin again next week. Um, this is not anywhere close to Islam, and this is not the Islam that Muhammad gave us.
Mm.
All right. That's the Islam that we inherited by the Jews and the other Magi from Buddha, from not Buddha, from Baghdad, and from Harut and Marut. That's what they did. Harut and Marut were not people. They just were teaching. Hey, this is the difference of the tree of life. This is the difference of the tree of evil. The tree of evil
Mm.
is when you think you know better than God. Okay, and you think you don't have to listen to revelation, you don't have to obey the 10 commandments. That's the tree of good and evil. You
I
eat from that
see.
tree, you're eating from yourself. So it means you're idolatry, you're performing idolatry because you place yourself in God. You see.
On that point,
Yeah.
Doctor, in the hand of Iblis, you
Yes.
discuss an anatomy of evil. Is this
Yes.
evil a visible political force, or is it primarily a metaphysical one that we see the symptoms of?
Oh, it's both. It's both.
Well,
You see, you have life without having the infusion of Allah's spirit. You have to have the ruh, you have to have the ether, you have to have the astral, you have to have the mineral content. We have all these in content with the mineral kingdom, but you
mm,
have to have this life, you have to have the intelligence. Now, the animals, they have the soul, they have the roof, they have to breathe, and they have the body, the mineral content, and everything, but they don't have the reason. You see, God gives us God reason, so that we can listen to him. Oh, listen. He who has ears to hear, he who
Mm.
has eyes to see. This is why the pineal gland. Well, we talked that another occasion. They're making too much of it. The pineal gland is nothing more about balance. That's all it is, just about balance. Don't think anything more of that. But the metaphysical thing all proceeds from Allah. Okay, so if you magi, and that's what they did, Harut and Marut, they said, don't do this. And that's what the Jews did. We're going to do this. And they incorporated in their Kabbalah. Then they twisted that. The Kabbalah and they twisted that. And then they finally wrote it down in about the 13th century or so. But
Mhm.
these things, they worth by saying, hey, God doesn't, he's not here. This is with the thing. They say, God created us and he's gone away. He left us
Mm.
in charge. So we got to decide what's going to do. And there's scriptures, but it's all messed up and it doesn't make any sense to me. So we'll just make our own laws. So they made their own laws and they say, hey, since we're making the laws and we got all the power and the authority and the guns, we'll make the laws to our benefit. So, and if we do that, then we have to create a priesthood. Yeah. The priesthood is okay.
That's right.
We'll let them be the priesthood and we'll tell them, we'll hire the special geniuses, the guys with Q. They can translate all the character, translate all of the scripture and put in there exactly what we want. For example, in the beginning was the word with God became the word and they Jesus. Well, that didn't come in the New Testament. That was written 50 years before the New Testament was even thought of. It was 50 years before Jesus was born. It was written by a guy from Philo of Alexander. We have his manuscript, and that's what he said. It's right in John in the New Testament. So this is not inscribed. See, this is not.
I see.
They hired. Say, okay, we'll take that one. We'll substitute that verse, and we'll take this one, and we'll substitute
Or canon.
that verse.
Those are canonized.
And they chant all of this stuff canonized, and then the only people who can understand it are their priests.
There you go.
And they have them dictating the priest. And they say you got to obey the authorities. Hey, what are the people going to do? They're going to obey God, you see. So the priest is saying, if you don't do this, you're going to go to hell.
Just to connect that real quick, Doctor, for what you just now mentioned about the priesthood and the authority or the appeal to authority. As a medical doctor, have you noticed that also applied to the medical field, where you have the authorities who do what is health, what is disease, what is cure, what is cause? And then if you question it, I mean, there's as well.
There is a priesthood, medicines. Well, there it comes from the ancient mystery religions. When people got sick, they went to the temple, and the temple had scribes, and the scribes would say, "What's wrong with you?" They had like a psychologist. What's going on? What's your history? They wrote down. And then they discussed it with one of the local priests, and they have them do an istikara. Actually, they actually did it. They would do an istikara. They would fast for a couple, 3 days, have visions, and all this sort of thing. So it was much more legitimate in those days because they were actually following their fitra.
Right.
And they were actually making some metaphysical contact. But what the problem is, if you're not following the scripture, if you're not following the prophets who have brought the scripture, you're following someone who changed their scripture, then you get off fitra. And you're not on your Hajj anymore. The Hajj is the path to your destiny. You're not on there anymore. You're on their course. And if you course, you see, and if you want to go there, you see, but if you went off a little, you're going to miss it. See, you won't. You just. So that's what they do. They take things. They use a genius to create a new narrative, and then they put that narrative out there, and everybody follows the narrative. Well, that's what's happened with Islam. They're following the narrative of the traditions. They're not following Al-Quran, not as it's written. And Al-Quran will explain itself if you go through it very carefully. So
fantastic.
This is so. If you're offline, you see, you're not going to miss your feature. And every degree that you're missing that feature, hell is slipping into your life. because you're not under God's protection. What did Moses say? What did Joshua say? What did Muhammad say? If you keep my commandments, you will maintain your dominion. Where does dominion now? Where? None. And even in Iran, you see, we can talk about Iran sometime, but even in Iran, they don't have the real dominion because all of those priesthood came out of the communist cesspool of Paris. Okay, and many of
Right.
the Jews, and many people don't know that. So the whole thing is just screwed. They're not future. They're not following their dimension. Their end of their life, their
Mm.
destiny. They're not going to follow that. They're following the other side of that coin is fate. And when you get off Keter, every degree that you're missing off Keter, you're bringing hell into your life.
Mm.
And there is no deliverance from the hell without repentance. It just doesn't
Good
happen.
point.
God will send the angel, he'll collect the innocent, but the guilty, they're going to their sins that they brought on the innocents. And that's what the Quran is all about. The Quran is about becoming a Khalifa so that you could protect the innocent. That's what it's about. You see. So listen, I know everybody's about Palestine and all that sort of thing, but look, the Jews made it very clear several years ago to the Palestinians, said, you people lost, abandoned. None of your neighbors are going to save you. Okay.
Mm.
You're all abandoned. Control them all one way or another. We control them all. And we want you out of here. So here, I'm going to give you $50,000 and you just leave the land.
Really?
Yes. The Jews did this about 10 years ago or so. Nobody
I didn't
followed
know
it, but
that.
very few people followed them. So the Jews said, if you're here, hell's going to follow. And that's what's happened. The caliph in those situations are the parents, mostly the men, because of the way Islam is misogynist, you see. So the women don't have any choices. They have placed their women and their children as shields, and they're suffering, and they're going to be held accountable to that. There's no romance here. Forget that romance. They lost the war. They lost it a long time ago, and the Muslims have allowed them to lose it. They don't want to
Well,
defend them.
even so, the Jewish argument would be even in your own paradigm
Yeah,
of Islam, when you lose, it's over.
that's right.
You pay us jizya.
Yeah, that's
Like
right. That's
basically giving their own. They're throwing their own arguments back in their face.
that's correct. You are absolutely correct there. So yeah, it's a pity happening there, but they brought it on themselves. That's what I mean. When you lose your destiny, you lose
Mm.
dominion, and all this is hell. You brought on yourself. You see, and God will give you an opportunity to escape. I've seen that in my own life.
Right.
Okay, so God will give an opportunity to escape, and if you don't take it, you're going to have to suffer that hell. And the
Right.
people under your sword are going to have to suffer that hell as well. And that's what's taking place in Palestine. So throw out this romantic notion,
Mm.
that they're for land. No,
Right.
no, they lost a long time ago. And the whole
Right.
Muslim colony has lost, and they're being used by the Jews to destroy the world.
Right.
And they're
Now,
being used by this traditionalist preoccupation with what Quran really is, and it's not the Quran at all. You
right.
see, so that's what we're up against here, and I'm so very, very pleased that you invited me to speak to those people who have tuned in to us. I think that's a wonderful opportunity for some people, such as yourself, your Abdullah, and your other son. I forgot his name now, Zachariah.
Zachariah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
Zachariah.
right.
They are two bright men, and they need to learn these things. They need to learn them from someone like me before they become ruined and just run off and say, oh, these Muslims, they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, well, they
Yeah, that's
don't.
true.
That's the fact of the matter is they don't know what they're talking about because they don't know what came before. They don't understand theology. They really don't.
Right.
And they don't story of theology with the respect to the original humans who were
Right.
here, you see.
Now,
And all of this has to be managed out. Yes, go on.
right. Yeah. I mean, it's having someone with your knowledge and experience in our show, and before I mean, take up too much of your time, but I just want to ask one important question that I had in my mind.
Sure.
If you look at the historical, or at least what they tell us was
Mhm.
history, events like when Alexander approached Persia, or the early colonists in the United States, they looked at the manifest destiny ahead of them.
Mhm.
And many such examples were a few people, like the British who came to India. There were just a few handful of people,
Mhm.
but they had a vision. They had a discipline, and there are some key factors that turn the tides in the favor of the minority throughout time. I mean, I'm just going, giving them the doubt. Let's say these things did happen as they say it
Sure.
happened. What are those key factors that can give a small group like the Quran alone people, or the believers, or even righteous people around the world, who are just wanting to regain control of their own lives and their own destiny?
Mm.
What are that they can leverage and work together to?
Mm.
We don't want to take over the world. We just want independence,
Sure.
So, what do you think some of those key factors are?
Well, um, the Quran makes it very clear that when you come together to make political decisions and you're going to do something together as a group, you got to pick a leader, okay? And then you have to be faithful to that leader. Ooh, ooh. That means you can't just be imposing your opinion. You see, if you chose a leader, then Allah's gift, okay, of direction, his guidance is be key to that leader because you're all coming together as one. And now this is not a decision that, let me be specific here because this is how what you're talking organization of evil because that's what they've done. These
Hmm.
colonists, they've organized the evil, right? They're going by just what I said. They're going to organize it for their own benefit, all right? And they'll use the priests to manage the people. Dude, they're going to get their will accomplished. That's what they're going to do. So if they're going to colonize somebody, they're going to keep the ignorance. They're going to impose a new priesthood, and this priesthood is going to be very very effective,
They're going
and
to
they're
colonize
going
their
to be very
minds.
they're going to be very very loyal to their okay, even if their leaders are wrong.
Okay.
Now, this group they do not operate in democracy, and that's a wrong idea. That's why they're pushing democracy. They use it all the time. Democracy is government. And I don't care what anybody people says about it because it's not scriptural in the Quran. The
Two
people who
sheep.
make the decision are the shura.
Yeah, it's a two sheep and the wolf deciding what's for dinner.
That's right. The people who decide what's going to happen are the shura, the caliph and the shura. Now, you remember some of the things we have about the Prophet's life is that he did not go against his shura. You see? So he was not
Hmm.
a tyrant. All right. So the moment you see a tyrant rising up as your leader, you've got to depose them. All right. We can't have a tyrant.
I
All right. So
see.
that's one principle.
So if there is a shura and he never went against it, what's the point of leadership then? Like, why
Oh,
would they even have a
no,
leader?
the point is that somebody's got to make the decision. And so if you're sitting in that making the decision, and four out of your five counselors are against it, you're going to agree with the shura because
So,
maybe there's something you don't know, and that's a sign of humility
okay.
on the part of the tyrant.
It's like the judge and the jury.
That's right. It's like the
Okay.
judge and but these jury, you see, you don't need your peers. You need a jury of your
Yeah.
superiors. You need jury of wise men and women, not just the men.
Right.
All right, and we about that another time. But you see, the so that's what they're doing now. The people we know now that it wasn't for the Freemasonic organization, the world would not be organized for evil as it is. We now know this, and it was through the British government, through the military, and through all of this colonial thing, and it was also through not just the British Zionists, but also the Zionists and everyone of them, because the Freemasons were taken over by the Jews and the Jesuits, and the Jews
Mm.
established the Jesuits. You see, now we're talking about 300 or 400 years ago. So this has been organized for evil for a world fellowship. It never happened before. In the history of the world, this never happened before. To
The
have
World
that
Fellowship.
organized, yeah, you have some global sort of, but this is because of feature. It's not because of an organization of evil. I say these people have organized themselves for evil. Now, to answer your question, is that the religions have not organized themselves for good. Because in order to organize yourself for good, you have to defend against the evil. And once you know that these people are evil, you have to depose them. That's not happening. That's not happening now. So we see what kind of a friend, what kind of a grip they have on world politics now. They got everybody in all important situations, in all important chairs, decision making. They got them all under control except for just a few. Now, all right. So how can you organize this?
Right.
Well, you can't. Allah has to organize it.
Right.
Allah gave you the plan,
Mhm.
and Allah gave the. Let me put this to you in terms of the scripture, as for what came before and what happened with the Quran. All right, because the thing that the Israels are talking for, this greater Israel, this is a direct result of the promise given to Abraham, and much of that is analogy. Okay,
Right.
let me start this off by just saying that the promised land is a place of peace anywhere in the earth. It doesn't
Mm.
necessarily mean Canaan. Okay, so it's a scripture's analogy. They're
Right.
just saying, okay, Canaan's the promised land. Well, that's fine. Well, Amina and I, we have our promise here. Okay, and so you can have your own promised land no matter where you are, but you have to follow a certain principle of organization. Okay, and part of that organization is not being subject to democracy, because Democrats, my vote on a particular is not equivalent to some drunk's vote who just got up out of the gutter on Sunday morning to go vote.
Mm.
They're not the same. My opinion, his opinion are not the same, but yet they count as something
Cool.
equal. And then they're stuffing the ballot box. You see, with so this is he's thing so that the object is evil on the part of these Freemasonic associations. Now, I don't even know that. You see, they think that they're serving God. They that they've become, you say, knights of God, serving them. Serving the papacy, any people, and they actually think that they're doing a good thing when they're doing genocide. The Jews have admitted this thing in the old say you can't leave any of these any of these can't leave them alive. All right,
Mm.
and that's true. You can't. You can't leave them alive. But this is not for everybody now. There's no how many cannibals living in Palestine right now? Aren't any that I know, except for the Jews that do it in secret. You see, so this is something that they have absorbed this, and in the 18th degree, they take an oath of being loyal to Israel. Yeah, in the
Mm.
18th degree. Now, most of the Freemasons never get up that high. They stop at the first three, and they just become ignoramuses all the rest of their life, thinking that they're serving God. All right, that's fine.
Wow.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Go out in the community, you don't have to put up with all kinds of ignoramuses, and you don't have to insult them because they're ignorant. You see, you just accept them as they are and deal with them as you possibly can. Okay, so this thing that's come into the world religions has also related to that, because every time you go into a world, look, you go into the 19th century, you look at all these pictures, all right, after colonials. What happened to the local leaders? They all
Mm.
began to dress like Freemasons, every one of them.
Wow, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Even up to the Pope, huh?
right up to them, right up, dressed like Freemasons. So this is an extent of that situation. The If they are in charge of the priesthood for all of these three religions, you see, that means they're in charge of both sides of the aisle. You see, the Catholics say the
Blowing my
Freemasons.
mind right now. What you
Yeah,
telling me?
that's what happened. So this is what happened. This is what we're phrased with this thing. Everybody's afraid that can we same thing that Muhammad said? When you see these things, when you see the signs of the revelation, when you see the signs of the apocalypse, when you see them, run to the hills. He didn't say go and vote and try to change town center. He didn't say go and vote and change the masjid hierarchy. No, run for the hills. Both of them said that.
Right.
Why? Because it can't be corrected. It can't be.
Like Sheikh Imran Hussein's talks.
Well, Sheikh Imran Hussein is about this thing. He's probably wrong about some things he said about Russia, but he's right about this thing. Okay. And that is head for the hill, because that's what both of them said. And if you go back into ancient history and you find out where the prophets were, they were not in the cities. They came to the cities to talk to the king. Then they went back up to the hills. Now, why do I say back up to the hills? Well, because that's when you're going to encounter Allah. When when Moses said that he didn't see the city, when none of them did. So back to Abraham now. When Abraham was doing this thing, and the Quran says, well, I'm going to give the promised land to your children. And Abraham said, all my children? No. The Quran said, no, only those who obey.
Right. The covenant doesn't extend to the Thalimim.
All right. So if the Muslims have lost their dominion, that means they're not obeying. Yeah. If they're on the dominion of the sin that I've just described, they're obeying them. They're not obeying God. Across the board. Across the board. The difference what you say. You cannot defend the self because that's a promise from God. You will maintain your dominion. They all lost it. Okay. So what does the faith for their nemesis? They've been assigned nemesis. They're judge the world because everyone's disobedient. And so when everyone's being disobedient, you run for the hills. No. Yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you can't go ahead.
You're looking for a join in with you, and my kids, as you also very much into awareness as well as trying to gather people together. Now, your understanding spanned over these decades is invaluable for this new effort. So a lot of times when, as you mentioned, when you try dialogue and you see no substance, you see no reciprocation from the other side, you're like, you know what, I'm done with you guys, I'm out. I can completely understand sentiment. So like myself, we're trying to gap between the two generations. So we keep the access to someone like yourself, and also recruit the new generation that we're going to have on. Is an amazing personality. His name was Rakibul Shaikh. When he was 13 years old, he independently arrived at the Quran alone understanding, and he's only 18 now, and he's so dynamic. And there's so many people who met like that in the Quran alone space, and but we need access to someone like yourself who has the knowledge and the wisdom, a depth of understanding. So it's been an hour so far, or over an hour, and it's gone like a lightning. It feels like a couple, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about that. I could probably go another hour or so. But how to do this? Look, you're doing it. You see, you invited me here. So that's an open invitation. And all things that are good and are going to be fruitful, they come from Allah. So your invitation to me was an invite from Allah as far as I'm concerned. And whenever I'm invited, I then enter, all right, with God's will, and try to plant some good fruit, some good in this coming generation. So I worry about how to do it. I would just keep on, I would do it. And then how it's going to happen will come every step of the way. You see, every step you take towards this thing, Allah will then show you. Allah will then make it possible. Allah will then explain what's to be done with this thing. It happens that way. This is what happens when people establish their own institutions. They get in the way of Allah. Allah has a way, and it's by virtue of revelations. You
Mm.
see, so yeah, we've known each other for over a year now, or so, something like
Yeah,
that,
that's
and
right.
now we come to a point where we're doing something like this. Well, that's Allah's will. You see, I'm just recovering. I'm difficulties speaking sometimes. I'm just recovering from. I have what they call expressive aphasia, and some of my words to me right away, but it's coming back. So I've just been over this thing, and that experience to me was a very humbling experience. You see, I can talk about that at a different time, but that humbling experience was something that I probably need to do in order to do something like this. You see, so that is. Allah has, what I'm saying is, Allah has His own way with each of us, all right, in our own life, and when we are coming together, we agree to do that, and Allah then blesses it. He then graces it. He gives this Rahim grace to this thing, and all you do is just hold your hand out and take it. That's why we pray with our hands up, waiting for the grace. You see,
Right.
so you wait. You wait for the when the grace is there. Then you do something. You don't pray for the grace. You pray for Allah's guidance. And then when the grace comes, there it is. That's the substance of the thing that you hoped for. It's the evidence of the unseen. That's faith. Moses, most Muslims don't have this kind of faith.
Mm.
They don't walk out their front door and expect the house to burn down behind them and then be okay about it. You know, sniff a little here and say, Allah gives, Allah takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Now what's next? You see?
Right.
Most people don't have that kind of faith. They don't have that kind of faith. I
That's
have
true.
that kind of faith. Amina has that kind of faith. So, that kind of faith, we need to teach the younger generation how to grab it and how to hold on to it. You see, and then no more of this stupid, foolish priesthood need to
Right.
listen to them anymore. You listen to Allah; He will tell you in your life what He wants you to do, who He's going to do it with, how you're going to do it. You see, all of these things. You don't need a 5 year plan. Don't. That's what the communists do. You don't need a
Right.
5 year plan with Allah. Allah already has an eternal plan for you.
Right.
You see, all you got to do is be the person that you are. Be the person that wants to respond to truth and truth only. Mm. No, that
Fantastic.
means that if you somebody in your life that's not letting you be,
Yeah.
you got to get rid of that person. Yeah. You
Very
can't live
true.
with them. That's part of the thing that said, and Christ said, when you see these things, run for the hills. He doesn't say, take that person who's given you all that hell and take them to the hills. No, he said, take your sheep and go to the hills.
Right.
He doesn't say, take that hellish person to the hills. No, let them be judged. Okay. Oh.
Right.
Yeah, Allah is like, yeah.
So I've been hogging up all your time. So I'd
Uh-huh.
like to give an opportunity to Abdullah to ask some questions if he has any.
Sure. Abdullah, shoot on.
Uh,
What's on your mind?
well, you were also mentioning about political systems, also how it aligns with the Quran. In your
Yeah.
opinion, what are your thoughts with economic systems with a Quran alone society? Let's say, like, what would you say the ideal economics for a Quran alone society would be?
Well, you know, I'm not an economist, not really these things, so it's kind of out of my field. But the thing is that you have to look that you are, who you're with, and then you have if you're I mean, if you're attaining to any leadership in your community, you have to say, well, what can I do? What are my limitations? And then you have to learn what others can do and what are their limitations, and you have to work within those limitations. So it doesn't mean that you're just going to establish a kind of an institution and teach everyone to do things. No, that's not what it is. You have to think about this in terms, forget about the cities. God hates cities. All right. It's very clear. God hates the city. If you know what came before, God hates the person who builds house onto house onto house. Don't need that. Because why? It doesn't let you communicate with
Breathe.
nature. It
Mhm.
doesn't let you breathe. You cannot communicate with God that way. You have to communicate with God with respect to nature. All right. And you have to have some other creatures around you. So that's why God doesn't like the city for that reason alone. Then cities are filled with all these murderous ideas. So you have to learn you do, and then you have to establish the principles about other people in the community, what they can do, what you can, and you work within those limitations. You don't take somebody's ideas like Marx and then apply them to your situation. No, no, that's not going to work. You don't take someone like the Jewish idea of banking and then apply that. That all of that is riba. You should try to exchange goods
Barter.
if will. That's the best thing. If you have to have some money, don't lose control of it. All right, to other people. All right,
Right.
that's what's happened to the world. The entire banking system is under the control of the Jews. That's how it is. So
Mm.
until that's reversed, there's no hope for this thing. If you're going to do this and you're going to run to the Hindu, some sort of Islamic community, well, you got to do it in virtue of two different things. You got to do it because you're guided there, and you got to do it because the people in authority there are going to accept you. You just can't move into town and set up stakes and say, "Hey, I'm here." No, if God's guiding you there, He's guiding you there to a relationship with who's ever there.
Mm.
And that's what happened with Muhammad. You see, he went when he went to, he established a whole new organization, and that's what God wanted Abraham to do, to establish a whole new organization. No priest. We don't need any priest. All right. Yeah, maybe he needs some clever guy to remember the. But he doesn't need any priest. That's just memorization. Where you can memorize the phone book for that matter, and
Mhm.
just recite that as well. That doesn't mean you have understanding. Just because you can recite something doesn't mean you understand it. And that's what our mullahs have to understand. They're wasting all the time making people to memorize things they don't understand instead of explaining. You see, that's a big waste of time, and that's another reason the Muslims are failing. So there, and you establish relationship. There has to be some sort of relationship, and if it is directed by Allah, He will make that relationship very clear to you. And it will be established. It will be one thing led to another, one thing. Maybe there's a 5 or 6 change of relationship, and then you finally find up with a seventh person or the eighth person who's really where God wants you to be. You see, you can't just go there and have an idea. No, you have to go there, and you have to go to a place and say, even before you go there, you have to go and say, God, who am I going to talk to? And what am I going to talk about? What am I going to do there? I need all this understanding. Lord, please help me. You see, so these sort of things have to be extemporaneous at the moment. You can't make a 5-year plan. I'm going to do this. That's the way of the world. That's the way the Freemasons. They're going to make a 10-year plan. They're going to take China. Well, they did that in the 1850. They took it with opium, and 100 years later, they gave it to the communists. Ah, yeah. So they got long-term. Not the way Allah works. That's what Allah permits. Why does Allah permit that? Because, listen to me, the people who claim to be His are not organizing their good to stop it. All right? And they're organizing all this namaz stuff. Oh, can't lose your finger up there. I'm going to chop it off. No, please, please. What's the matter? Fools.
Right.
Fools, you see. So these don't have anything to do. Don't go anywhere near the mountain with those people
Mm.
because mountain people just shoot them. Okay? They'll
They'll,
just shoot them.
these guys will just in the scriptures to a set of rituals, and that's all it's
Yes,
about.
that's
Yeah.
that's right. They set a set of rituals, and then that's it. So there's no satisfaction in being a Muslim anymore. I can't tell you how many young women I've met so far. Years I've been a Muslim. Where are the good men? Where are the decent
Wow.
men? Where are the responsible men? We can't find them. We can't find them. Want to marry them? Just become their slave. Oh gosh,
Mm.
well, all of that is imam. All of that is that's not part of religion. It's not there. They made that up. It's all made up. That's what the Jews do to their women. They make it up. You see. Either make their women slaves or they make them harlots. It's one or the other. Very,
That's
very,
very
very.
deep.
It's very, very. Answer to your question, yeah, you have to think about this very clearly, and you can't change this system. So you have to work on the real things in your environment. You can't wait for the paycheck. All right. I'm not waiting for I'm not waiting for the aisles. I'm not grocery market to be bare.
Mm.
I'm planting my potatoes and my carrots now.
Fantastic.
You
Yeah.
see, so I'm not doing those things. Yeah, if I had a bit, I was younger and I'm not so crippled, I'd be doing much more. But there's a lot of things I do, and I still, even at my age, you see, and being crippled, I'm still out doing the work. I'm doing the work that young people just throw their hands up at. They don't want to get their hands dirty.
In that
Please.
regard, Dr. Omar, I'm a
Uh,
little curious about why did you choose Kentucky and not, let's say, the Amish country where you'd find an entire community who's already doing what you're doing?
Well, we're surrounded by the Amish here. That's one of the reasons
Oh,
we're here. See,
wow.
I had a long-standing heaven that if I ever had to go back to the States, I'll live either with the American Indian or with the Amish. You see, and
Wow.
it didn't make any difference to me which one. So I chose from the Amish. We're surrounded by Amish here in this community,
Wow. That's
and
fantastic.
we came to this community as a result of a dream. Okay, so it was not something we planned to
Mm,
do. It was the result of a dream. So this gift of the gift of life, it's still there. It works. Okay, but you don't have to do all this nine namaz stuff, and you don't have to memorize the Quran to do this. No, not at all.
right.
All you have to do is be truthful and be fruitful, truthful and fruitful. Don't
Truthful,
lie.
fruitful.
Ten Commandments, and that's it. So let me get back to Abraham and what happened to the promised land here, because
Hmm.
this will bring it home to everybody. So Abraham said, "I'm going to." God said to Abraham, "I'm going to your children." And Abraham said, "Okay, what about all of my? No, only to obedient ones." So it's
Right.
dominion only belongs to the obedient ones. You see, so if they don't have this obedience, they can't maintain dominion.
Mm,
Why? Well, no, you'd have to say, well, why is that? Well, because if there's somebody who's going to threaten your dominion, God's going to let you know. You don't need to have a spy division. You know, you don't need to
mhm,
do that. You need a spy just to show you where the enemy troops are. You don't need to tell them what their motives are because God will tell you. The angels will tell
mm,
you. God will tell the pious amongst you what's going on. And if you don't listen to those pious, you're going to be lost. You're going to be lost. Once you've chosen to be pious, you've chosen to be leaders. You see, Muhammad was chosen, so they listened to him as long as he was alive. So then they started changing things. You see,
that's true.
so yeah, that's what happened. I couldn't get anybody to talk to me about these things when I was amongst the Muslim academics. Nobody wanted to talk about these things. So anyway, they lost their dominion. Why did they lose their dominion? Because they're following their own heart rather than Quran. They're following their own interpretations rather than what the Quran actually says. And what they say the Quran says and what the Quran actually says are almost two different things in many, many.
Mm,
I'm talking about the elemental things are very. There's God, He created you. There's heaven, there's earth. There's yeah, all of that is very self-explanatory. There are other things that you don't know about, which respect to political and political dominion, which is Abdul is talking to me about. So
mm,
I'm explaining because they abandoned the true Sharia. They abandoned their own, and then they placed women under oppression.
mm,
Now they didn't know they didn't always do that. You see, it all changed. Now you go to every Muslim school, and all the Muslim women, they all the same, pretty much so. They all look like Coke bottles, in their little Muslim garb. And this is not God loves variety. God creates the beauty. Yet these people don't know what they're talking about. You hide the beauty. You hide the beauty of community. How are you going to share that? How are you going to talk to a student who can't even see facial muscles on your face? because that's a mode of expression too. No, this is all foolish, very foolish stuff. And it's all because of chauvinism. So you can't do it that way. You have to do it within a smaller community, within a small group of people. All right. And you have to do it in a place where God shows you where he wants you to. There aren't very many places I can think of that are going to be saved. I'm sure that there are, but God
Mm-hmm.
knows them. We don't know. So if you're looking for someplace, you have to do istikara. Anyone listening to me, you better do istikara if you want to go to some place where you're going to survive what's coming, because it is
Mm-hmm.
coming. Okay, and you have to do istikara and say, God, I need your help. I need your help in God, I need your help in two instances. One, that you deliver me, and two, that you kill me here. I need courage for both. Okay. So, hey, that's a decent prayer. God takes away, blessed be the name of God. Why? Well, because you're his forever. So whatever he does, it's for your best interest. Oh. Is that a question, Dr. Omar? That is a question of faith. See? And if you don't have that, stop talking about Islam. You don't know what you're talking about. You really don't know. Right? You haven't been
Very true.
elevated to that rung. Okay. So if you're not doing that, don't do it. Oh, if you're going to do that, say, God, help me to escape here. Help me to escape these fools and bring me to a place where I can live and become the person you want me to be. Oh, now that's a good prayer. That's a good prayer. From hell and take me to, all right, well, then you're going to have to change some things, young man, if you're going to follow my directions. You see, you're going to have to change the things that you thought were true. You're going to have to unlearn the untruth and learn the true. And then you're going to have to trust me. But, you know, that imam down at the masjid, he said, I got to come here every Friday. No, you don't have to do those things. None of those things you have to. All you got to do is trust me. You see, I have your angels and I have your jinn under my control. Okay? So if your heart is pure, don't worry. Everything's going to be okay. That's from God, you see.
Right.
Everything's okay. Don't worry as long as you trust me. So you're coming back to me anyway. So you might as well get used to it now. You see?
That's a good point.
Yeah. So you just have to do this way. And then once you do that istikara and you're on your own destiny, you see, everything that you need will be within your reach. If you need an address, you need a phone number, you need some finance, it's within your reach someplace. All that God's going to do is open up your eyes and open up your ears so you can see what is His will and what is someone else's will. Someone
Right.
else's will wants to possess you, but Allah only wants to possess you, and everything from Allah is good. You see, so I wouldn't. I wouldn't do too much worrying. This person have to say, that person has to. If you're going to do something like you're going to go up into the mountains, well, then you need to prepare yourself, don't you? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you need to know how to. You need to know how to build a fence. You need to know how to take care of animals. There's all kinds of stuff you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're gonna do this, better get off your butt and learn how to do these things. I mean, if you
Right.
don't know how to elementary motor, you better learn how to do it because that's what you're going to need. You see, if
Mm.
you don't know how to dig a well, you find out how to do it or get somebody to do it for you. These people don't think about these practical. That's why I married a Chinese woman, because she's very practical. You see, very practical. You see, she got everything in order. Everything's in order, and and then she kitchen. She say, "Don't touch that." You know, if I do, hey, is that to do? You bet. The way to a man is through his stomach. Don't you ladies ever forget that? Yeah, that's you. You want to love this man? Learn how to cook. Yeah, oh, he can cook too. Yeah, sure. But you want him. You want his stomach. All right, and make
Mm.
sure it doesn't get too fat. Yeah, because then you'll learn to resent him. So be careful. So all of these things are important. So, and then the other thing is, well, who's going to do this with? Ah, yeah, well, yeah. Well, I'm doing right now with Amina, and so
Mm.
far for us, Amina and I are working out pretty good, and And so doing this together, we're on the same page. Okay, so
Right.
we're kind of thinking pretty much the same way, and because you're thinking pretty much the same way, and that you're helping each other, then this is what completes the human being. Marriage completes the human being. You see, and I got all kinds of videos and about this, but completing the human being, that is your next step to arranging your destiny. Now, if you're marriageable, not everyone's marriageable. B- b- Believe me, not everyone's marriageable. Marriageable, and it can be, but not everybody is. And some people, they're just not marriageable. And some people, what do they have to do? Well, Dr. Omar, what do they have to do? They're not married. Well, you got to submit yourself to somebody who is married and ideally married. Okay, that they're performing the good deeds of the commandments. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know anything else. Just keep those 10 commandments. All laws belong to honor God and honor your neighbor as you love yourself. It's pretty much that. That's all you got to do. You don't need to do anything else. You don't need to learn Arabic. You don't need to learn any of this stuff. All you got to do is keep the 10 commandments. Well, isn't that what Allah gave to Moses? Yes, it is. Isn't that what he gave him the promised land for? Yes, it is. So there's nothing else you need.
Nice.
There's nothing else you need to learn. That's
Right.
all there is. So the Jews, they did not keep these commandments. They did everything against them. And so God threw them out. All right, when Jesus came. And then Jesus said, wait for the Comforter. Wait for
Mm.
Muhammad. Now, I wrote a book on the Gospel of Barnabas. It takes this very, very clearly. And I just got it translated in Indonesian. Thank you. So that thing is there. So the Muhammad, he's going to show you how to do it. You see, Abdullah, I'm still answering your question. Muhammad showed Medina how to do it. All right. And he set up a confederacy. And he set up chiefs of each tribe still maintained their autonomy. The only thing that they were together for was defense of their little confederacy.
United States.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the United States is never the confederacy anymore. Lost the
That's
confederacy.
true. They lost the
the
Confederacy. That's right.
and that's by virtue of this Freemasonic Association.
Yeah, originally in the Articles of Confederation.
Yeah. So they did that. So what did we have? Your confederacy. Florida. You've got all the counties. Imagine a county has its own tribal chief. Okay. And every
Right.
county has its own shura. And every county has agreements with each other to help each other out
Yeah.
with respect to trade and all this sort of thing. Well, that's fine. But there's no one chief over all of them, you see, except for the one who's there to defend them against their enemies.
Mm.
Now who's going to defend you
Foreign
against
and domestic.
Yeah, foreign and domestic. That's right. And so who's going to defend you against your domestic? The fellow who is married to the most pious woman amongst them. That's who's going to do it. Well, that puts a whole different. That fella. He's going to receive the 149th of gifts of the prophecy. That's how it is. He's going to receive. He's going to receive the dreams. He's going to receive the messenger who's going to tell him about so and so's going to come and kill him. He's going to see that. The Quran makes it very clear. That's what's going to happen. The angel's going to come and tell him. Okay, so if you're just establishing an institution and you're pretending upon the mullahs to keep you informed, and they're stupid, all right, they don't even know their own history, okay, and they can't explain the Quran to you. So you're not going to get protection. You're going to lose your dominion because you're not elevating with truth. Because who brings the truth? The messenger. Who's the messenger? The angel. Who's the angel? As a sent from God, or to inform you, or to tell you what you need to know so that you can prepare for the next assault against your autonomy. Muslims have lost this. They've lost it because the reason they've lost it is because they've insulted marriage, and by insulting God created it. He created it. Now, if you have a lesson, I have to. I would like to leave this one more point because then I'll stop. I'm starting to get a little bit tired now. But he created it. Now, Abdullah, listen to me. Listen
Mhm.
to me now, because you're looking for, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of young men looking for a wife. Now, listen to this. Genesis really have to say. In the beginning, God did not create Adam and Eve. All right, and then Eve out of Adam. No, there was a there was a primordial mold. All right, this is ancient Jewish scriptures have to say. There's a primordial mold that was the being. It was not yet alive. God cut it in half sagittally from your heaven all the way down this way. Okay, God cut it in half. One man, one half he made woman, the other half he made man. They have to come together in order to complete each other.
I would agree.
And the whole idea here, you see, is the whole idea here is ideal. The most precious of the marriages are the monogamous marriages because there's no division. It's just
Sheikh,
total
what word did you just use?
not cut this way,
Yeah,
sagittal.
what has to do with the word sajda?
It probably does. Probably does. So you see, in order to complete being, it cannot just be one. It has to be two. You
Right.
complete it. So if you're going to do this thing and hit your hijra, towards your destiny, this path of your, which is what Lao Tzu called the Tao, what it is, the path of your destiny. Destiny is to return to Allah. Your destiny is to return deeds. You got to do them with your wife because your wife is the one who's going to love you for them. And that's how you experience God's love. You don't experience God's love by saying, hey, I saw what you did today. I want to shake your hand. No, 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 no. You experience God's love with the face when she loves you for what you're doing. And that is God's love. And that's why men are afraid to lose the woman who loves them for this reason. There are many Hollywood actors out there. You probably think of a few of them. You know which ones that they lost their true wife. For all this adolescent stuff and sort of thing. But they lost this one wife because that was the one wife that Allah assigned to them to defeat their shadow and make their Kareen Muslim. You see, and so this is very important. The wife is no different than the man in this respect, because the man cannot be his completeness without his wife, and the wife cannot be her completeness without her husband. So the both of you have to work together to redeem your Koreans. No one else knows you as much as your wife does, or your husband does. What your failings really are. That's what we're doing now. So the man has to love wisdom. He has to correct himself. He has to perform tawbah. He has to perform contrition. You see, he has to not go back to the vomit that a dog does. Go back and eat his vomit now. No, you can't go back to the world of sin. You come this way. You're going to get back on Qibla with your wife. You're going to go right up to your more fate for me. All right. And if it is something like that, it's just because I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time and I can't help it. So the earthquake comes out and swallows everything. Because something like that. But if you're going to do this thing, you got to do it with your wife and do it understanding, searching wisdom, learning how to protect the innocent and the helpless. This is what the Caliph does. And in the city, go someplace where you can find someplace who needs you to do that. You see, so that's what we're on about here, and could probably go on, but I think I'm going to leave it there for right now, gentlemen. And whenever you want to, you just let me or Amina know, and we'll do this again. Inshallah.
Absolutely. I thank you for letting us dip our beaks in your ocean of wisdom and knowledge. And I'd like for all the viewers to listen to these words of Dr. Zaid carefully. You might have to listen to them a few times, but the level of his conversation is fairly deep. And with that, I appreciate you joining us today, Dr. Zaid. I'll bid you farewell.
Very well. Thank you very
Assalamu
much.
alaikum. I'd like to introduce our next guest. As I was mentioning to Dr. Zaid, his name is Rakibul Shaikh. Uh, Salamun alaikum, Brother Rakib. We can't hear you right now. I
No.
can hear you now, yes. So
Hello.
the first thing I wanted to say is that Brother Rakib, he started his journey when he was 13, which is impressive in itself. But in his tender age of 18, even now, he's very involved and he's very serious about learning about IT and researching the Quran, those kinds of things. And most of all, very few of us in the Quran loan space, he has the courage to show his face. That in itself is a mark of Bahaduri in today's world. So welcome, brother, to our platform.
How are
Well,
you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
So, Brother Rakib, can you tell us a little bit about your past, your upbringing, and your history?
Can I speak in Urdu?
We would prefer English because our audience today is English, but we will have
Not
a
problem.
day where you can speak Urdu only.
So, my past is so curious because I'm a religious person. I'm also a religious person, and my family also a religious persons, religious because 5 time pray and other thing, Quran tilawat and other thing, always do. And my family encouraged me to learn Arabic. And very small age, I learn Arabic like recite because some not any translation, not anything. Then जब social media आया and I check social media some Islamophobes and something I saw very much Quran and other thing and read the Quran. So I say what is this and hadith वगैरह. So then I saw very contradiction, very bad thing because I think कि ये क्या है. Then मैं atheist बनने के कगार में आ गया था. Then I saw Muhammad Sheikh. He inspired me first time. So then I start my journey to Quran alone. And so the first time I joined Muhammad Sheikh, then I joined Musa, Moses, then Baba Shoaib and other persons. And so is my journey and some short.
That's fantastic. What was your opinion about? Did you hear the program we had right now with Dr. Omar Zaid?
Yes, very बहुत अच्छा program रहा, very useful and very productive रहा. And like so Quran alone, you say I not believe in hadith, I believe only Quran. He aggressive. Why do you need to believe in hadith? How do you pray? Another thing, just to say this. What Allah say 7170. This those who hold first to the book and establish salah. So you hold first book and establish salah, and क्या कर देते हैं and say how to use salah.
Very good point.
Oh,
First, you
and
hold.
one interesting verse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says 6155. That the verse say this is a blaze book we have revealed. So follow it. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam also follow the book only. So because he follow only book.
Right.
Say this is blaze book we have revealed. So follow it and mindful of Allah. So you may show mercy.
Then how would you respond to people who say in the book Allah says obey Allah and the messenger? How would the messenger obey himself?
That word is obey. Obey means you follow the laws, you follow the commandments. The Quran is in the follow Rasul. I follow the Quran, I follow the Allah, I follow the Rasul messenger. So the verse does not say follow the Muhammad, follow the Al Rasul, Rasul as a Rasul. Sorry, as a Rasul, I obey him because he carried the message. One thing verse I show you, 599. The verse clear say, what the verse clear say? The messenger duty is only to the messenger or who duties deliver the message. Because I have a message, then I am messenger. I have no message, I am not messenger. I say you follow the messenger. So I follow the message also. Because the Muhammad Sallallahu follow only Quran.
Fantastic. And he also judges only by the Quran or by what was revealed.
Yes. One thing I show you another verse that is beautiful verse 614 that say then is other than Allah I seek judge and I say so should I seek some other than Allah as a judge? Will it he is one who sent down to you the book? He sent down the book. Mufassalun, detail.
Explain.
Mufassalun, explain in detail. And those who and then the next verse is so important. The next verse says, then word of your Lord has been complete, perfect in truth and justice.
Wow.
The Lord is what is complete.
That's fantastic. You see, this is what I was
Yeah.
talking about earlier, Abdullah, that the depth of knowledge of someone who's so young, and especially I've
Getting a
seen
head
other
start.
people also. So, like, do you remember a few others in the Quran loan space, even in our Discord server, that are young?
I don't remember them by name, but
Or-
I do remember them as people.
Do you remember them, Rakib?
No, I have a two, three friends who
Yeah.
listen me and who like me, and I teach them. So you,
Now, what are
बस
some of your
मैं उनको, but he say no because they are fatwa, some fatwa. I have मतलब मेरे को fatwa है kill करने का, मारने का. You,
what? Oh,
that's some kind
that's
of
right.
thing. So
That's it. Within India, they're giving you fatwas. Oh goodness.
or brother, you can say the Friday khutbas, the
Mhm.
Friday khutbah, the Maulvi say, you do not believe in hadith, there you were kafir, so you are wajibul qatl. So I not believe in hadith. He say, you are not believe in hadith, so you are blasphemy of prophet. You do not believe a prophet. And I shall
Go
show
ahead.
you some kind of hadith that say I blaspheme the prophet. No, I not blaspheme the prophet. The hadith is blasphemy.
So, Brother Rakib, we're also working on projects in alhaq.com space where we're
Yes,
putting
yes,
together documents, articles, videos, things like that, and
yes. I
to
am making.
explain the kind of
I also making lot of PDF, lot of formats.
right. So we want to take all of this material and then also put them through a process of debate, test them through,
Yes.
right? So I'd like to invite you to join us in this effort,
Research.
inshallah.
That's I show you the hadith, the Sunnah Ibn Majah 215.
Yeah,
The hadith,
right.
the Messenger of Allah said, Allah has His own people among mankind. They said, O Messenger of Allah, who are they? He said, the people of
People.
Quran, and the people of Allah, and those who are close to Him. And the hadith.
That's right. So that's the thing is that
That's right.
whenever their own scriptures and their own books contradict them, they'll try to find a wiggle out. They'll try to wiggle out of it. They'll say, no, this is a Dhaif hadith. This is Hassan. We don't believe in this. And they'll just like cherry pick whatever
I
suits them, just toss everything out.
I show you I show you a hadith. First of all, Nauzubillah, astaghfirullah, that is not the Prophet. That's
Yeah.
a Sahih al Bukhari 77. That's
Mm.
true hadith, and that is Sahih hadith, great Sahih. When I was boy of 5, जब मैं 5 साल का था, when I was a boy of 5, remember कर रहा हूँ, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam took
Mm.
water from bucket, used to getting water out of well with his mouth. Yani took water from bucket and with his mouth
He just
and
drank.
threw it on my face. And
Oh, he
his
spit on his
mouth,
face.
yes, throw it on my face.
Okay.
That's is the prophet. That is not blasphemy, brother.
They'll consider
That is
that
not
holy
blasphemy.
water.
Yes, oh, that is holy water.
So that's the problem is that these people have that type of a mentality. Now,
Yes,
Brother
yes.
Rakibul Sheikh, he also wrote an application for Quranic research. Would you mind if I share that on the screen, brother?
Can you repeat?
I said you also created an application that
Oh, yes,
helps
yes.
people do
I
research
also,
of the Quran. And
yes, I also
right.
show.
So how would someone access this application? We have at alhaq.com hosted Brother Rakibul Sheikh's application, and I'm going to put it on the screen here, https quran.alhaq.com. So I welcome you guys, right? And so I welcome you guys to take a look at that. And if you have any questions,
Take up my
reach
screen.
out. Go ahead.
Take up my screen.
Take up your screen. You can share your screen. I see it. Here we go.
So that is my website. Is Quran. You can click this section, so you can join the section. That's translation. But अभी मैंने translation नहीं किया the complete translation, whole translation. But I do because fast नहीं करना चाहिए कोई भी काम. उसको धीरे-धीरे research and you know
So
you
he's
click
still
on this
working on
section.
this. He says he's still
Yes,
working on it. Translations, he's
still
still working on that. But,
you click on tafsir section, you have detailed explanation, you have lugat, lexicon, you took it to, and what is the explanation of this verse. That is the lugat, lexicon, and all detailed explanation in all detail in the tafsir section you can see. and evidence section. You can do evidence, and also the article section is here, and a research, question answer, video permission, and other thing. And you can challenge me debate. In dictionary section, add root word dictionaries. I show you some my website features. Yes, you see the Quranic searching section. You have a slide. You click on 256. So that's why you click on add slide. That is slide on slide in word by word. You click in
Mhm.
translation section. You only translation. You can translate Bengal, Urdu, Hindi, English, and you can click 7. You can click 7, 5. So you can slide. You can see the मतलब second slide में first आया था
Creating
second slide में
slides through this
yes
website.
slides yes through the website, and you click on this type of sorry add slide, and you click on new slide. You have a blank sheet, so you can write, you can draw something you like, so you can draw something. You can see
Annotation.
this type, this
And
type,
you're saying that you created all this, correct?
and also this section. You can see the root word section. You can I search करना चाहता हूँ कि जो भी कुरान में किताब वाले आए थे, बुक वाले आए थे, वो मेरे को चाहिए. So I click on this section, is Quranic searching section, and open and paste it, and all you collect generate slide. Sorry, कहाँ गया? Generate slide,
How long did it take you to make all this?
and
So that's what I was talking about earlier, that when I was 18, forget it, I was clueless. Even
and
30
you
years I
click on
was a
this.
Muslim, I still hadn't reached this position.
You this all slides, all slides आ जाएगा जितने भी किताब वाले वर्सेस है, यानी किताब जिसमें भी
Mm.
लिखा हुआ है all verses are show.
Wow. So what
Is
you're saying is when you do a search for a root word, you can output it
yes
into
root word,
slides, and then
yes.
it'll create all of these slides for you for
You
reference.
click on save button, the all verses is save, all slides is save, and
Can you
you yes also downloaded, and also other sections, also PDF section, PDF bank, dictionary, and so much. And that is my website.
Fantastic. Thank you for that demo, brother. And I hope people will go check it out. But let's say if they have any issues with the website, how can they contact you to get support?
उस वेबसाइट के अंदर ही कॉन्टेक्ट सेक्शन है, उस वेबसाइट के अंदर
Okay,
कॉन्टेक्ट
there's a
सेक्शन, या
contact
मैं
section in that. So do you want to
index,
share any
and
contact
I
information here in case they're not able to
yes
reach it?
yes yes I show you my email address, so
Mhm.
you can contact me. Wait, I paste inside chat. That is my email
I got
address.
it. I'll post it over there.
Abdullah Sheikh. I also
There we
work
go.
my channel, and I have also a channel.
You have a YouTube channel?
Yes, I have also a YouTube channel.
Let's put that in there. Incidentally, I forgot to share this link earlier. If you want to know about more information about Dr. Omar Zaid, his website, it's over here, alginko.com. So I encourage you guys, if you want to know more about him, go check him out. Brother Rakib, are you putting in the channel,
Yes, yes.
the name of the channel? Here we go.
Because I so मतलब मैं style.
You're a fan of Baba Shoaib, the correctional
Yes, also.
officer.
Because
Nice.
मैं उससे बहुत कुछ सीखा हूँ, मैं उससे argument style सीखा हूँ, and then how to do argument, and how talk to people with funny way.
Yeah, he's definitely entertaining. I also learned a lot from a correctional officer, so I do appreciate his contributions. And I personally feel that he can tone down on the insults a little bit, but that's okay. Everybody has their ways, and he feels that
Everybody.
he's doing retaliation, so he finds it permissible under that rubric.
I also with and I also debate with many Mufti and Maulana, and my personal experience, मतलब मुफ्ती मौलाना के अंदर मतलब लाइक सो उनके अंदर ऐसा हो चुका है कि दे बिलीव इन हदीस इज द वर्ड ऑफ गॉड.
Yeah.
मतलब आई टॉक विद द मुफ्ती, नेम इज Muhammad Nashir Madani. He learned at the Madani University, and they the Mufti say, I believe the Hadith is the word of God.
Mhm.
The Hadith is the word of God, and Quran does not. I say and say no. Hadith is the also word of God.
So much nonsense. Huh? But the problem is
Nonsense
that,
thing.
Brother Rakib, you have been debating those people in their platform, and that's the problem. So, what we need to do is create our own debate stage where we invite people to come debate us, right?
Yes, also that
So,
is beautiful
yeah,
idea.
and that's where we need to join together as force. If we were to combine, let's say, all the debaters together, and then we do some mock debates, we test our skills and we test our arguments, then we can come up with a solid game plan for this, inshallah.
And brother, multiple language के लोग अगर join करते, so that is beautiful, क्योंकि I'm Bengali, I live in West Bengal, so I debate with Bengal, I debate with
That's fantastic. So that's those 4 languages there. So you can join both of those debate platforms. Now, a debate group, it doesn't mean that everyone gets to debate at the same time. The idea is that one group will have a support structure. One person is the voice. Everybody else helps that person. And the other side of the debate, they're also afforded the same privileges. That means they can have their helpers, but only one person talks from each side. So that's what we want to set up. So inshallah, on the in the upcoming days, on alhaq.com Discord server, we're going to be doing those kinds of mock debates. So I encourage all of you guys to join. If you go to that QR code on this video, it'll take you to the website, and then in the website itself, on the top right hand, the first link is going to be the Discord link for you guys to join. Is there any other messages you'd like to let everybody know, Brother Rakib?
Yes, I have last message is read the Quran, and Quran ko apne follow the only Quran, because Quran is self-sufficient. Quran is explaining Mufassaloon, Quran is Tibyan Kulli Shay, and Quran is all of this. And Allah say you hold first you hold the book, then you do salah, not you leave the book and do salah. The Prophet Muhammad SAW also. So Ibrahim, what is meaning of Ibrahim? Always evidence.
So your
Bas,
understanding would, like, if of Millat Ibrahim is that we're of the faith of those people who argue with evidence.
yes. That
And
matlab way.
the
Who
way.
likes so way, the way. And Ibrahim is the best personality, and my inspiration is Ibrahim, because Ibrahim is beautiful character. Ibrahim and Musa is beautiful character in the Quran, beautiful character. And Musa also beautiful character, because how to talk with people, how to talk with argument, how to defeat people. I give you verses 2 and 2:5.
Mm.
You check the verses, what the say Arabi and what say grammar, because today is 20th century, and आज के ज़माने में सब कुछ फिंगर टिप में, आज सब कुछ फिंगर टिप में है। लोग अगर इंटरनेट पे सर्च करे डिक्शनरीज, लेक्सिकन डिक्शनरीज, ऑल डिक्शनरी आ जाएगा. And I search library, archive, and also our websites, articles, and many of things, lot of things, because people are lazy, so lazy. And जब मैं भी फर्स्ट टाइम जब मैं इस फील्ड में आया, दैट्स फील्ड्स में आया, so I have nothing, I have no support. I always alone, and I have no lot of stuff. So people के लिए भी easy हो चुका. So people study करे, देखे इन सारी चीजों को. That's my last point.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing all that. Abdullah, do you have any questions or any thoughts?
What would you say your opinion is of how conservative you would consider yourself Quran alone, correct?
Yes.
How would you say how people are socialized within the QA space? How conservative and how liberal do you think people should be? Where should that middle ground be with how people interpret the Quran and interact with each other? So,
How
for
people interact.
example, to give an example, for traditionalists, they're very obviously traditionalists with their views, so they believe men and women shouldn't be touching at all, according to the Hadith, in any regard, unless they're mahram, of course. And music is haram, drawing is haram, things like that. It's very traditionalist mindset, and a very liberal mindset would be Nisa isn't necessarily women, Rijal isn't necessarily man, stuff like that. So that's like the two extremes, I guess you could say. Where would you say QA space should land, in your opinion?
Yes, कुरान की जो interpretation है, कुरान have interpret, मतलब people के अंदर individuality है, people have individuality, so people have individual thinking level. So you can say Nisa woman, Nisa is so all the translation to verify the Quran से verify करो कि जैसे 2 की 2 है, the 2 verse say you kill the people, and the next verse say you don't kill the people. You have contradict, because the kill translation is people kill, matlab there is two contradiction. So people like, so I say Nisa is lower sect, so other verses not support me. That's that is not true translation.
Fantastic.
Pretty good answer.
So, Brother Rakib, we really appreciate you coming on our podcast and sharing your wisdom and your experience and your website with us. And inshallah, we'll hope to have you more on the podcast as well as on the Discord server. Be more engaged.
Yes. Quran name also Furqan. What is right and what is wrong? Quran itself explanation. I say I'm अगर कोई with any wrong translation, wrong interpret. The Quran have full of contradiction. You say kill means is contradiction itself because Allah said do. Go. So killing is not means as the physical killing. Is killing with argument. I say
Hmm.
I killing with your argument. I killing your ideology, your thinking. I one last message is people सोच में हिजर बन जाते not migrate
So
and
you're
आगे
saying
बढ़ो.
that in a lot of times what he's saying is that people get calcified in their thinking and they don't change their mind. So what Rakib was saying in Urdu
Yes.
is that we need to migrate our thought. We need to migrate from ignorance into knowledge, or from one thought process to another. So that migration of thought is hijrah also. Is that right?
Right, very important. Hijra is very important because लोग क्या करते हैं अपना सोच में stuck हो जाते हैं stuck है.
Hmm.
And so for example Baba Shoaib is stuck in so thinking. They say I am the good, I am मतलब full of arrogance. So I am the good, I am the best. But
Right.
look, people not say that I am always हक. मैं हक
Hmm.
में ही हूँ. अगर कुरान की ट्रांसलेशन अगर लिमिटेड हो जाता पीपल नॉट हैव इंडिविजुअलिटी और
So
टाइम के साथ साथ इसका इंटरप्रिटेशन चेंज होगा
right.
कुरान
So
के.
Abdullah, what Rakib is saying in Urdu is that if the Quran had only one translation, then it would get stuck in one limited
Kind of
sense of the
mindset.
meaning, and it'll just be limited, and people won't be able to expand on it. So we shouldn't get stuck on any one kind of interpretation. There are multiple interpretations, multiple meanings, where we can expand the knowledge and the understanding. What do you think about that?
Zidni ilman. Rabbi Zidni ilman. It's
Increase in
very good
ilm,
thing. Rabbi.
right?
Lord,
So
increase me with knowledge. Yeah.
thank you very much, Brother Akeem.
Thank you
Inshallah,
very
we'll
much,
introduce.
Steve.
So we'll introduce our next guest, Brother Mike. He's from Malawi. Salamun al Brother Mike. Are you there?
Ali, how are you, brother Omar?
Alhamdulillah, very well. It's great having you on board. A little bit about Brother Mike's past. He's from Malawi, obviously, very well educated, very independent thought, and a deep thinker in his own right. And I'd like for you to tell us a little bit more about yourself, Brother Mike.
First, thank you. I was born in Malawi, in Kota, somewhere I know most of the viewers are not familiar with the place, but it's somewhere in Southeast Africa. I grew up in a Sunni household, but the parents themselves were not that religious. So every Muslim child is expected to attend basic madrasa education at a certain age. And then we did all of that as is expected. But I wasn't really that hard worker when it comes to that. I usually preferred secular education more. But then there was a certain point when I was going to high school that I had friends that we would meet up and then we would talk about how the way kids play.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of our friends who really worked hard in madrasa, he knew a lot of stuff. He was telling us about the Masih Dajjal. He was telling us about the Mahdi, the stories of the end times. And I was very fascinated because this guy knew a lot of things. And the high school that I was going to was an Islamic school.
Mm.
So I knew that when I go to that school, I'm going to learn a lot of things. That's what made me curious. And also, he put up some of the things that will make a person survive those evil people should they come out. Then it showed that for me, I thought my environment is not that good, but when I go to that school, I'm going to be well equipped. I'm going to have a lot of time and I'll learn a lot, and then I'll be a very good Muslim. When these guys show up, I'll be able to ward them off if they're evil. So, fast forward, I went to high school. Then, when I was going there, I had to do basic Josama. At that point, it was somehow mandatory for me that I
Right,
have
right.
to do that. So I did that. When I went to that school, I remember I met this other guy. I forgot his name because we didn't finish with us at the school, but it was just a very long time ago. So he was reciting, and I was very surprised the way that he was doing because he had a very good tajweed. And at every point, when I was a kid, I used to meet people who knew more than I did and who were better at it, and they were motivation for me to work harder. And then because I was a very competitive student, I didn't like the idea of someone being in front of me. So at that point in time, I was very reluctant. I wasn't like reluctant to learn. I was very committed to learning the stuff. So at the school, because the school was run by Africa Muslim Agency, it was known as, it was responsible for multiple schools in the country, and also it was also responsible for distributing books in the country as well. So when books fly in from the airport, they will first of all get to our school because it was the one that was close to the airport. It's as its warehouse, and then they will transfer this to different, because they build a lot of mosques across the country and they have to distribute that also to information centers. And then because new books coming in, the space was too small, so they would let our students go and collect the old books that were there. So it would be happening in a week or in 2 weeks. So it was just random. And I'll make sure I'll collect a collection of books and go to my room and study, even not attend classes. So I was into Sunnism. I studied it. I didn't study it in a way that you are going to get a degree, but I did it in a way that every person who is seeking knowledge and they're trying to learn, that they could use that. That's the general process that people follow. So after that, that's when I switched schools. I also went to another Islamic school as well, but that school wasn't that heavy when it comes to Islamic education. And when I graduated high school, all of this time I was just a Sunni person. There were things that I had learned in class that, because we did attend classes of fiqh, tawhid, sirah, and also just basic secondary school education. But there are things that sheikhs or teachers say just because they're carried away. So
which fiqh do they have in Malawi?
I'm not sure which one we use. We just, for them, whether it's presented, it's just like, yeah, well, it's fiqh. This is the correct one. But they do teach about madhabs, like, these people believe that. So they say that all of them are correct. It's just a different view. There are other people who are strict as well. To say,
But there's not any one particular madhab like Hanafi or Shafi or anything like that.
there are some that are the one that is dominant, but it's not really like something that separates people to some extent.
Oh, so are you saying that four madhab, you have a fifth madhab or something that is independent of the four madhab?
No, I'm not sure which one is very common here.
So there's like a mostly equal spread of all the different four madhab, huh?
The only time that we see that people are different. So it's for me, I can't really tell whether there's something different because I was just accustomed to one. Because our Islamic system is more organized. There's a central board. So there could be just one that is managing people are using.
Right.
So when we are learning in class, all of these things, sometimes, like I said, people get carried away, and then they'll say things like, "Oh, well, the Prophet had so much strength, he would go through all the 12 houses of his wives in one night. On the day of judgment, you'll be given this level of strength to deal with the women you'll be given in Jannah." And we were kids learning all of this stuff, and then we were learning all of these things. At that time, I had learned fiqh, tawhid, just basic stuff that at least when you go home, people will be asking you questions and you'll be able to contribute. And then at some point, I had to travel to a place, to my uncle's place, because I wanted to study the Quran. So I know that I didn't know anyone at that location. I usually like being in solitude, so I didn't know anyone. And the people there were always busy. They would go to work day and night. They would shifts, and it was just me and their kids, just two of them. And then I would just, there was no TV, nothing, it was just me and the Quran. That was the first time I was reading the Quran. So when I was studying it, there were certain things that I learned in class that were, the Quran was contradicting those things. So we had like a WhatsApp group for students. So I asked them, guys, what do you think about this? I think one of the first issues was with marriage to people of the book, which were translated as Christians and Jews. So it was said the lawful to you in marriage. So when I asked, in class, I learned that it was completely haram. So when I read that verse, I was like, so I think I asked this, why did that share say? Because I knew that everyone will remember that sin. And this ayah says this, and the guys were like, you know what? It's not haram, it's just not good. And they knew from the start that haram it was, and they said it's not just recommended. I said, but everything that is in the book is good.
So are you saying that now your understanding of Ahl al-Kitab is changed from Jews and Christians to something else?
No, for me, that I'm just saying that the information knowledge can change with time. So after that, I think I decided to, because the people said that, oh no, the hadiths are the ones that offer much clarity on this. I went and studied that Riyadh al-Salihin just to get. And then that's when I was like, I got the whole picture of all of those stories that I knew. Oh, they had, because you'd have a collection of this based on topic of faith, and then there will be so many hadiths that you have
That's
to
right.
go through. And it was around 1,800 something. So I went through the entire collection. I read it multiple times, and I usually liked the long hadiths, the ones that had very long stories, because they were very fun to read. You see, they had a
Right,
lot of.
right.
So when I read all of that, I was very confident that when somebody asked me something, I'll be able to provide references from both the Quran and the Hadith. But I was more inclined towards the Quran. I couldn't get enough of it. I was always going there, and I would always learn something new. That was what surprised me, that I have read this multiple times, but when I get back to it, I'm reading it the first time, I'm seeing new information.
Hmm.
So at that point, I had already come in contact with the Quran Iran community through Facebook, because at that point I was studying I picked up a book, because when I moved from that school, I didn't have access to those books anymore. So my
Hmm.
little brother was going to that school. So I was telling him, when you are coming for the holiday, you have to get me books when you're coming, because those books, it's not like we're stealing, they were free distribution. So you should bring me books for this term. And then when he went to school and was coming, he brought me this other books. I was reading it. It was about Christians and Jesus. And
Hmm.
so when I was reading it, it was talking about the personality of Jesus based on what Christians believe. At that point, I didn't really have a full understanding of what Christians believed. I just knew that they believed that Jesus was the Son of God. I didn't
Hmm.
know to what extent, what that meant. I just thought like a normal son in which you have Zeus has kids, because at that point I was also studying Greek mythology just so
Right.
now I was also into history, so I was just thinking about it like that. But at that point, when I was reading it, I saw something very deep. They were talking about Jesus is God who came in the flesh. And I was like, this is completely wrong. Even if I don't know, this is shirk. All the three shirks. This is breaking all of the three. So I was like, I wanted to try to challenge Christians to say, because I have Christian friends, I wanted to debate them. See? So that's how I went into the debate space on Facebook. And while I was busy going back and forth with Christians, that's when I encountered the Quran community. And these guys were like saying, oh, well, the Quran is sufficient. These are the most crazy people. This is what I
Right.
said. This is what I was, my first encounter of the Quran community. I was like, these people are crazy. And you wouldn't say anything because they would attack you. And I remember discussing with my friend, I have met these people who are saying the hadith is irrelevant, the Quran is sufficient. And he was like, oh, you have reached the end of the line now. You will meet some
Hmm.
those ones. This is just a new movement that started in the 1920s or so. These guys known as the Quraniyun, and it was started by Jews. So at that
Always
point,
the Jews.
it's always started by a Jew. Whenever there's a
Mhm.
bad movement that happened in historical time, you find that there's always a Jew starting it up.
Right.
So
Their
when
books are full of Israeliyat, and they
yeah,
accuse other people
mm,
of being funded by
you
the Jews.
criticize everyone but yourself. So when after all of that, I think it took almost over a year or two. I didn't go back. That was just an encounter, and it just passed. I was still talking to Christians and everything, talking to Christians, because those are the ones that are very common from where I live. You see. So fast forward, I think when I went to college, that's when I was studying the Quran with my friend. I have a friend whom we usually used to study the Quran. For him, he used to listen to Quran audios mostly. When he's just sitting, he's studying, he's always playing the Quran, the
Hmm.
translation, not necessarily there'll be a recitation and there'll be an English translation. So he knew the Quran a lot. So he would just bring verses out of nowhere. Like, hey, there's a verse that says that when you are sitting down in a row and somebody else comes looking for a seat, you should move to give that person space. So
Really?
you bring verses like that up just out of thin air, the verses you have never heard of. But there is a
Yeah.
verse that talks about
Really?
someone else
Wow.
coming and you are seated and he's looking for space and you should stand up and then give him space. So you bring like verses like that. You knew that you didn't know it existed. So that time I had encountered this book by Said Kutub. Said Kutub, there's
Egyptian.
I think. So I had volume 30 of the Joshua. So I was reading. This was a very strange translation. And even the way that he was explaining things, I liked the way that he was explaining things, because when someone asked me to give him a translation of the Quran, I used to just get it. But it wasn't different from the Sunni translations. It was just more standardized in his style. So
Mhm.
it sounded much better. When they said that it was communicating a different message, it just sounded much better when you used it. It sounded like the old King James version. So that's why. So after that, When I was in college, that's when I started, because we had a Sunni community, and that's when I started going so much towards the Quran.
Hmm.
Then there were hadiths that made me, like, they left me confused as to what was going on, because I understand from the hadith literature, there could be a hadith that has multiple. In another version, it says this. See, there will be a hadith that says something, and then it would be like a story. And then in another version, it says that the story went like this. Just maybe in the ending, or there'll be just some slight variations, but then it would exist. So there were also like other hadiths that looked much better. They didn't sound anything close to the Quran, and I just chose to ignore them. At that point, I was so much staring to the Quran. I can't really at what point, at what stage I shifted completely to the Quran. But that was the period that I started doing that, because every week on Sunday we used to meet the Muslim community at the school. We'll go through what has happened in the week, if we have any updates, like the student union, and then would have weekly sermons. We didn't have a mosque. They didn't have a place to do salat. So we used to utilize school wagons, and then people would go there and drink and everything. So tomorrow is still. So we were gifted land outside the school to build a mosque. So we're also fighting for that to get it done. You find people stopping
Wow.
that. So it was more of a back and forth. So we had a very small community, but we're very resilient in trying to get things to work. So I think by the time I was graduating, the mosque was ready. So at that point, when we were discussing the sermons and everything, I would have a session myself too, but then I would so much delve towards the Quran. The people didn't really understand why. Most of the times I was just telling them, read this book. Don't, if you meet God on the day of resurrection, he's going to ask you in accordance to the law. Which law? You say, so the law is what is inside this book. This is what you're going to be judged by. But people were just sort of like, maybe we were just having a cool conversation, telling people to recite the Quran. Because what I noticed was that most people in that class did attend madrasa. They did basic madrasa. They learned about fiqh, but 99% of them didn't know the Quran. So it's like almost it's the reality of this. I don't know where somewhere else maybe in the world, but here in Malawi, when you go to learn the Quran, you are learning how to recite it.
Brother Mike, imagine how much more difficult it would be for them to teach about hadith if a prerequisite for hadith was that you know the whole Quran.
I can imagine how difficult. Even at the time when we were just learning the hadith, the questions we would ask, and the person would fail to answer. With regards, for example, with the person who has died and is buried, and then there are angels that come to ask him questions, and the grave kind of squeezes that person. So as kids, we were always very fascinated to say, but there are a lot of people in the world are bent. What goes on that side? So how does it work? Also, that when the person is bent, then that becomes his grave. So it didn't really make sense. So how does it get squeezed? Well, so there are like 3 steps after the last person has left. But there are people who build their graves, who leave their graves very close to their houses. Even 30 steps is not enough. They're just outside them. It's also common on this side. You find that if someone lived very long and they have so many children and they build a community, when they die, they're just buried outside there. So 30 steps are not even. So there are these mathematical rules, like defined rules, that this is how it works. Firstly, you are buried, then after 30 steps. So even when we were kids, we were like that. It would be quite a disaster to teach people the Quran first before you present to them this doctrine, this religion that we have made up.
Right.
So after that, that's when I started. But I wasn't really that open. I didn't tell anyone that I was just doing Quran alone. At that point, I followed the principle that I cannot cherry pick hadith. I don't have the methodology. I cannot say I'll pick the hadith that agree with the Quran, because then I'll be accepting part of the book content and rejecting the other. So without proper justice, so I should just ignore all of this. They might have historical significance, maybe if you want to talk about what happened. But if you're trying to say it with certainty, then it has to come from the Quran. The Quran has to make that case. So that was what I believed myself internally. I didn't tell anyone because I understood how people behave, how
Right.
Sunnis. So until we had this WhatsApp argument that just someone who was also my friend just put it out there. Mike doesn't really believe in the hadith. He's a hadith rejector. And people, that's when, hey,
He got
what
exposed.
do you think? He's a Shia. Whenever you
They,
start
they
saying
wouldn't mind Shia as much as a.
so at that point, there was this guy who was just in there defending, bringing in verses, but we don't need that. Who is this guy? I even stopped responding. This guy was the one who was going back and forth with the people for almost 45 minutes. Back and forth, bringing ayat, saying that we only need the Quran. And I was even, some of the verses, I was even seeing them there. I was like, oh, so there are also these verses. I was going myself to cross check. And this guy was going back and forth. And I didn't know who this guy is. So when after some time, I had to message him, hey, you are doing a good job. And he was like, hey, these Sunnis are trying to get on our nerves and everything. So he was saying, so I was like, who is this guy? That's when I noticed he's my friend from back in the day that we.
So
it was my friend the whole time, and I have this number that he was using.
I see.
So that's when I started openly speaking out that I'm Quran alone, and I didn't say that I'm Quran alone. I just said that I only use the Quran. So the person would be like, the Quran? I said yes. Then I can talk to you about this. So it was,
That's right.
that has been my journey. But my family,
It's almost like they're saying, "Oh, so you're educated? We can't discuss this with you."
and for
We
me,
need
like
people that.
I don't know if most people have this, but for me, my family were not like that religious. So when I tell them that, hey, I'm following the Quran alone, they don't even know what that means. They're just like, as long as you are worshiping God, they say that the person that doesn't serve God is an animal. But animals do serve God. They
That's right.
they do. So they are worse than animals. So they always believe that. So because when I was a kid, I had to be like family reference whenever they needed to do something like post funeral, certain rituals that they do. They'd always ask me, and I was very creative about it. They still do ask me to till today because there are some people who are very old. They still have old customs, and they still expect someone to give them feedback on what to do on certain affairs. So I'll tell them, then according to the Sunni tradition, you're not supposed to do this. People will be mad if you do this. But I know that if I start talking about the Quran, they'll be like, they'll just sleep and they'll be like, we don't know. What are you saying? What? They are not really interested in hearing anything.
That's
about
true. Yeah.
it. So for me, that has been the journey.
Thank you so much for telling us about that background. Firstly, I'd like to ask you a little bit about what your opinion was with the two other guests that were on before you.
Because I know Rakib, I've met quite a few times on Discord. I know his enthusiasm, but I like his approach. I think he will have, inshallah, he'll have a very much bigger contribution to the community, given that he started this at a very young age. This also this surprises me. I don't think I would have been thinking about this when I was little because kids are easily indoctrinated. Tell them something, it sticks. It's not that easy to get it out of them. So he's able to do all of this. I'm just expecting. I will not be surprised if he becomes some way that one big Quran scholar that most people they'll be referencing. As for Dr. Omar, I came in late, but I listened to a few points that he raised. Most of them they were deep. You needed to so that. So I think I have to listen to him more. I have to check him out to be able to understand exactly how he presents his case. But I mean, it was a great learning experience. I learned a lot from, especially Dr. Omar, the cases that he put up. I think there's a lot of information. Some I've heard before, but not in that way. So that's all I could.
Cool. So the next question I wanted to ask you was about Malawi in general. You don't put your picture out there, you don't put on the video specifically because of the hostilities that you're worried about, right?
So it is in Mao. It's not like people are going to meet me in the street and they're going to beat me up. It's not like that. It's not like they're going to kill me. It's simply because I come from a place that is heavily conservative,
Right.
in the sense that religion is an identity. People still ask you what your religion is, even when you're filling forms and everything.
Right.
And then when you say you're a Muslim, the way that the system works in Malawi
Right.
is that people can easily alienate you, say that you don't belong to that community.
Wow.
And then because of that, your family would not be able to understand. They'll think that maybe you have switched religions. And then what happens is when you die, people don't seem to understand what to do with you. So
that point that you're just now mentioning, that people still ask in application what your religion is, it's very strange for someone living in the United States. However, in the US, a lot of these applications ask you what your race is. So they do have this category where choose not to answer. But why did you even ask the question to begin with? A lot of people feel if they don't answer, they will underrepresent their demographic. And so they feel compelled that they need to put that answer in. Otherwise, everybody else is answering. It'll make it look like their own people don't exist.
Yeah, like for me, I like keeping a low profile. Like I said, I also have like a lot of friends. There are also people who don't know for a reason because I've seen my experience of how students behave. I was one of them,
Mm.
so I do understand how aggressive they get. There are some times in which people will just say you are an atheist because
Mm.
there's a way that this okay, so have a way of doing labeling.
Yeah.
You have specific patterns. People will try to classify you to give you a term because that way it simplifies you. It makes you predictable. This is what these people believe. These are Quranian, or these are these people. So those labels, they make people to be aggressive towards you. You want to do something which is not even related to religion, and then people will come in and they'll not help you do that, or they'll do something entirely different based on your religion, your view. And here, your religion is like your tribe as well. So tribes means a lot. You cannot
Right.
move in Malawi without connections.
Right.
Your stuff.
So you mentioned earlier, actually, not in this podcast, but in a conversation we had earlier, that the land in Malawi is very beautiful and also very affordable. And
Yeah,
I asked you about that question about what is much is an acre. You said like $100 to $200, which is extremely affordable.
yeah. Malawi has a problem with forex, so they not really buy anything in USD because the government doesn't have access to the forex. So what happened is that
Really? They don't have
yeah,
access to the foreign. Can't
I can't buy. I can't even pay for Netflix subscription. So what happens is that you have to buy from unofficial markets. Because of that, the
um.
rate, bank rate, the exchange rate is twice as large. So
Oh
even
wow.
banking systems are taking their monies, taking it to the unofficial markets. You
Oh
see,
okay.
it
What
made
about which currencies do they accept?
it's the local currency, the kwaja.
Only local.
Yeah. So if you put your money in the bank, yeah, you have a dollar account and you put
Mm.
money in your dollar account, that you can use it. But
Yeah.
where are you
Okay.
going to get the dollar if you are
No,
in
you just
Malawi?
write them a check, right, from the bank.
Okay, so it's like this. You're in Malawi. That means when you're buying something, someone pays you, you're depositing at the bank. You're just using the local currency. But if you want to pay with your card for something, or you want to transfer money internationally, then the bank, I say they are allocated a certain amount of USD that you can use to make purchases. And if that USD account is not available, so banks don't have forex. Even to buy fuel right now, the country
Yeah.
like to get fuel because they don't have forex. They have the money, but they don't have the dollar equivalent of that.
So are they not part of? So is there no exchange system with the Malawi rupee or dollar or whatever?
Because it wasn't like this all the time. This just started around 5 years ago. Always find a solution to do something. But now the thing that is prevalent enough, the market that is dominant is USDT. So
Oh
it's
my
very
God.
volatile. You want to
Exchange
buy,
rate for Malawi and Kwacha is 1
mm,
to 1,741.
but the one that people are exchanging right now, $1 is 4,000 Maraguay.
Oh, wow. So you get even more bang for the buck.
Yeah, that's so. If you want to buy, you cannot get it at 1,700. That's just the official rate, but
Mm.
nobody uses that because
So
it's
you
too
actually
scarce.
get more. So like if
Yeah,
I was to bring, let's say, $1,000 to Malawi,
you get
I
like
can sell it for more than 1741.
yeah, but you have to go through the bank since that's not good. You're not.
Black money, basically.
Yeah, that's black money. So if I want to pay for Netflix, I have to go to the black money people. I
Yeah.
have to give them money, and then they have to give me that USDT. I have to load it in my virtual card, and I have to pay. You
Okay,
see?
that would be more profitable, right? So if I bring a certain
Yeah,
amount of American dollars, go sell it in the black, and then get that local currency, then I can use that to buy the
if
land.
you're rich, then you buy land. That's why I was varying that it's $200. I know that $200 you can get an acre here. It just depends on location. Some locations are more expensive, but you can still
Right.
get an acre with $100 or $200 because sometimes they'll be
Wow.
like an acre. They'll sell something like we are selling 100 hectares,
Hmm.
and they'll say 325,000 per acre. So they'll put it like that. So you can buy. It's so many friends that I've shown this from the US. They were like, Man, I am
That's
rich. They thought that
amazing.
there were poor people in their living. That I was like, how much do you spend on groceries in a month?
Right.
So they were like, hey, I spend about $300 or $400. I'm like, people
Hmm.
here do that. You can't. That means by definition you're a rich person. Yeah. That's
So
how
one
it
of the
works.
plans we were thinking about in the alhaq.com space is where in the world can we migrate to where we can have a good life. Malawi sounds like a good candidate. Now,
Yeah.
affordability of land is only one factor. The protection of personal liberties, freedoms, the
Yeah.
treatment of foreigners, kinds of things are also a big factor.
Yeah, I think in Mara you can research about it, you can read about it. I think it's supposed to be one of the most friendliest people in Africa.
Really?
Yeah, that's why it's called also the warm heart of Africa because the people
Warm
there are
heart.
always smiling and welcoming.
Nice.
The culture is not something. The culture there is welcoming to strangers.
So
So
let's say we move in 1,000 Quran alone people into a community there. Wouldn't the locals then say, hey, you believe in our hadith? Why are you opposing
oh,
our.
no. So it wouldn't work like that because there are also, of course, I say that the Malawian community is much more organized, but like the reason why it's people become aggressive is because of family ties. Because the majority of Muslims in Malawi come from a specific tribe.
Hmm.
Everyone knows everyone. So yeah, if you are not believing in hadith, it's not like people are going to just randomly like be aggressive towards you. It's because it's going to go back towards your family. They're going to, yeah, like that. People who are related to you and all of that, they will go to those people and say, you know that your son is lost. He doesn't believe in all of this. He's a kafir
Right.
now. He's rejecting Allah and His Messenger. You see, they will have a case against you, and people will think that something is wrong with you, like you're going crazy. But for people who are just traveling, they can do whatever they want. Because in Malawi, we have multiple religions, and they are very, very serious in Malawi, the freedom of religion. Very serious. If you do something to hinder people's right of worship,
Yeah.
you're in a lot of trouble.
Really? So,
Yeah,
like, say 87% of Malawi, I just looked it up, is Christian, and
yeah.
significant part population is Muslim, about 11 to 14%. So we're
Mm,
still like in Malawi.
yeah.
We, as a Quran alone, would be minorities of the minorities.
Yeah. The only thing is that when they start incorporating you into government, that's when the body, the Muslim association, has to come in
Hmm.
because there is the organization of public holidays. Because Malawi integrates all religious holidays into
Oh.
the that's when the organization comes in place. Because, for example, it's time for Eid. You can't come in and say, "Oh, we are this religion and we are Muslims, but we have our Eid on this specific day." They still want you to give them one day for Eid.
Hmm.
One day for the first Eid, another day for the other Eid. So
Right, right.
it comes from the Sunni.
Yeah.
That,
What
those
about other things like, let's say you buy the land? What about construction, raw materials, workers, tools, equipment, those kinds of things? So, if someone in the United States owns a car and then we want to go to Malawi buy a car, what are we going to do? How are we going to buy a car?
well, I think the price for cars is most people in Mara usually buy from Japanese cars.
Mhm.
They're the most prominent. You can even look it up. So
Mm.
people use it before and so the pricing is just in dollars. So you buy from there and then they ship it to Mara. You just pay taxes, and then it's for cars. I think the price is the same because you're not buying from the country.
Hmm.
Yeah, the price of used cars. So used cars
Okay.
are considered new here.
Okay. Got it.
So if you buy from the new car, so if you buy like
Hmm.
that's like the old brand new.
That's going to
So
be
that,
too expensive. But even
yeah,
used cars, let's say if you buy it in the United States versus we buy it in Malawi, do you think it'll be comparable in price?
it is. The used cars in Mara are quite cheaper because they are quite cheap. I don't know how
Cheaper
much they
than the
cost.
US?
I don't know how much they cost in the US, but here cars like right now because right now about the black market thing,
Hmm.
there's confusion with regards to what the price actually is.
Yeah.
See, because you are saying that it's for $3,000, you are
Yeah.
looking at the bank rate that is 1,700. That's less than 6 million.
Right.
Right? But
Right.
the actual price is not that. It's times 4, which is around 12 million. So it's double that in the local currency. So the economics there is crazy, but cars have gotten expensive for Malawians. I don't know for someone who's coming in how
Hmm.
expensive it is that side, unless I can compare. But life in Malawi is pretty much affordable for people who
Okay.
are moving in. Even staying, most of the products are still organic. You'll find, like, I grew up in a lake, so I was eating fish all my life,
Mm-hmm.
and most of still in the form the way that they were. They're not really that much like modified, and they're very, very affordable. That's why I told my friend that with $300 you can you can have your month without any problem. You can have groceries, pay bills, do all of that with $300. That's like a lot of money.
Right.
That's like 2 million Malawi. People who are graduates don't even get paid that much.
So the other issue would be if we're bringing in, let's say, migrants who are going to buy the land, build the land, live in the land. What are their job? Where are they going to work and what are they going to earn?
Yeah, so I think like looking for jobs, the moment you are getting paid in the Malawian space, that means you have
Hmm.
joined the economy and you are part of the population. And then it's no longer going to be $300 a month for groceries. Because even the most educated, like just fresh graduates, don't that much, you see. So they
Right.
make some below around Malawi 800,000 Malawi monthly salaries, and then they have to live on that. So the best way is to have a plan what you're going to be doing when you're coming in. Don't
Okay.
depend on the logo.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that.
So what do you about the safety and security? What's the crime rate in Malawi?
Well, Malawi is very, very safe, surprisingly. It's more to do with yeah, because crime is so frowned upon. If you
Hmm.
do something bad, people are going to kill you. They don't wait for the police. So yeah, but there are certain like you don't move around at night because people can rob you. So yeah, and in fact, in my are so aggressive when you do things that are contrary to your safety and security. Like for
Hmm.
example, by PM9, this almost like closed. Like all shops around people, it's like almost empty, and then you'll be moving around on foot. So you find that people who are traveling in their cars, they'll stop by and shout at you and even pick you up and, where are you going? Why are you being this stupid? Don't you know that this is people are going to kill you here if you move around like this, like that?
I see. I'm going to share
Yeah.
my screen real quick, and I just wanted to do a rate comparison in terms of safety and crime. So one
Okay.
second. Extra video, share screen. Here we go. Crime rate share. Okay. So in the crime rate here, we've got Malawi versus United States. Homicides lower, significantly lower for 100,000. Overall criminality score is lower. Crime index almost non-existent. Theft rate is almost nothing. Prison population is like almost a tenth of the population. So I mean that could be based per 100,000. Wow, look at that. You guys almost have no prisons.
Yeah, we don't have prisons. When you do something, it's better for someone to do something wrong. And if you, for example, if somebody got stealing, maybe you were a burglar stealing. So even at 2 p.m., at 2 a.m. in the morning, they will wake out from their houses. Almost, they will be like there's something else that's going on. Like, what is happening there? You even notice that there will be hundreds of people coming after you. So it's not easy in Malawi to do something. It's not like when you rob someone, people will be just like, oh, this person is robbed. No, it doesn't work like that. People will stop
I
whatever they're doing
see.
and they will attend to you. So for that reason, it's very difficult for people to.
So public violence and all that is very low, huh? Doesn't
Yeah,
happen.
it's very, 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 very low. That in things like during elections, you should have like a vetted crime, but they don't. So it doesn't. If you do that, people stop what they don't care. They'll stop what they're doing and they'll make sure you are treated fairly. Yeah,
Wow. That's very
yeah.
interesting because in the West, whenever we see coverage of Africans, and I'm not talking about the North Africans, like the Egyptians or the Morocco. I mean, the Middle and Southern Africa, they always show poverty, violence, crime, and like Liberia, show the images and stuff like that. And so it kind of makes people afraid to Africa. That would be like the last thing they would consider.
Yeah, I also watched. At first, I thought this because I haven't been to other places in Africa. Maybe they are like that. But then I watched a movie about Malawi myself.
Mm.
And I was very surprised that these things happen here. Like the way that they drew it, I was like, no, 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 no. Now that's when I that it was just like propaganda.
Propaganda.
Yeah, that is fun. But maybe I'm not sure about the other places, but I can speak for Malawi that not so much happen here. That there's violence, there's this. No. People are just living their lives like their everyday life, the way normal people live their lives. So when in every society, when you do something wrong, people are going to they're just
Right.
very aggressive with that. That's
I
why maybe.
see. We had a message from Loch Ness, Alain.
Mhm.
Viva l'Algérie. It's true. The Algerian country is has been known to foster and incubate revolutionaries like
Mm.
Nelson Mandela, like
Yeah.
Che Guevara, like Fidel Castro.
They were
All
all from
these.
Algeria or had
They
something.
Yeah, they were trained in Algeria.
What?
Oh yeah, you
I
should
didn't
look up
know
there.
That's the land
So
of the revelation there.
that's right. Yeah, they even helped in the Egyptian war against Israel. The 72 Gamal. No, I'm sorry, that wasn't Nasser. That was another one. These guys have been really very revolutionary people, the
Mm.
Algerians. So I would set them apart from other countries. At first, I had this concept, nation state being a modern innovation, where powers that be or various nations through the globalization project. And
Mm.
so I considered, there's only one ummah, one khalifa, the Sunni point. All these nation states are all like bid'ah and all that innovation. But after speaking to some Algerians, I kind of changed my mind on that.
That was very deep. One ummah, but I think that these are the things that we also like taught in class as well. Propaganda against the Jews as well. There's always that.
Ummatan wahida should be one nation. So
Yeah.
that's the thing with the migration and things like that. There are going to be a lot of fears that people have. However,
Mm.
if you
No,
think
that's
about, as I was mentioning earlier in the podcast with the Dr. Omar Zaid, if you think
mm,
about, let's say, Alexander and his army
mm,
conquering Persia with just
mm,
a few numbers, they had like 100,000 people.
mm,
And they didn't get conquer Persia. They took over parts of northern Africa, parts of India. I mean, they
mm.
swept through the whole Middle East was theirs. And
Yeah.
they were methodical of their approach. They were
Mm,
pre-planning. Same thing with the conquistadors. When they came to the U.S., they just like started knocking down one civilization after another, and they were only like what, 8 to 10,000 people.
yeah.
How did such few people come and everybody over? That's crazy.
Yeah. That's what also made vision is also like one of the factors. If you look at
Right.
the Macedonians, they had introduced the phalanx.
The phalanx, yeah.
As, that was like the world by seeing an army like that. And
Mm,
look at the Romans, they with their gladiators, they would you meet them today. The next time you meet them, they have also taken you have incorporated it.
right.
If they liked it, they are going to
They're
use
gonna
that.
Borg in
Mm.
Star Trek. You
Yeah,
ever
and
watch
also
any sci-fi?
with their system of electing the consuls every year, because
Mm,
everyone would want to go. But for Alexander, I think it's quite impressive what they achieved. But
yeah.
I still give credit to the army that Philip built, that Alexander inherited. That was those phalanx were.
And he recruited, he recruited his Spartans, and he kind of unified Greece first,
Mm.
and
The campaign that he wanted to do, he needed a united Greece because
yeah,
the Persians would just send money to Greece and say, "Hey, attack these guys," and then he
right,
wouldn't have a to go back to.
right.
But
But
the
they had
funny thing,
already agreed never to do that after the,
mm,
after that Thermopylae,
mm,
Thermopylae disaster and the subsequent invasion of Athens. They
mm,
agreed after that Xerxes said we're never going to attack Greece again. That was the
mm,
agreement. So he had that in
uh,
his back pocket, I guess. But
mm,
yeah, it's very interesting. So when we look upon these kinds of things, and even the British who conquered Africa and
mm,
India, it's like just a few of them, but they knew their advantage, pressed their advantage. They knew how
mm,
to like bring something that the locals have never seen. And as you mentioned, they also learn from wherever they're going, and then
mm,
they send it back home, and everybody learns about it, and now the whole beast transforms.
mm.
So and I
Yeah,
don't look at it in that light where they're conquerors. The conquistador literally means conquer.
mm, mm,
And so I want to live in a light where we're creating a space for ourselves and we're bringing value to the world. The idea is not murder and steal and take over other people's stuff. The idea is that we need a place where we can, breathe, where we can establish roots, and it could be multinational. Malawi could be one project, and similarly, we can have other projects across the world. And I'm hoping to kind of have like the multinational kind of footprint, almost like they consider themselves throughout history, a people without a land. So the Quran alone people are the people without a land, and we have no place that we can call our own. That makes every place our own.
That's it, like you said, and when those people who are wronging themselves, when the angels find them, they ask them, "On what state were you in?"
That's right.
And they
We
are
had no
saying,
choice.
"Yeah, we were being oppressed."
Yeah.
So the angels are like, "Was Allah's earth not big enough for you to
That's
migrate?"
Ardullahi Wasiya. That's right. So the earth of the land of Allah wasn't that wide enough to migrate. Very good point. So that's the thing, is that in the United States, I can say the positive is the fact that they do have a considerable amount of respect for individual liberties. The argument for the greater good or the common good, it flies in the face of constitutional law. However, in the modern times, a lot of that is changing with the rise in liberalism and communist ideologies. So even though those ideologies are traditionally assigned to liberal side nowadays, because of Zionism and the push for, you know, Israel above anything else, the right also fairly dictatorial and authoritarian. So it's like you're getting squeezed from both sides, you know. But aside from that, there are under the law in the United States where you can establish your own community, your own land. You have nonprofit organizations that you can, create, where you can have tax to pay tax. If you're all living as a nonprofit, there are lots of protections like that. So, for which, and not only that, but there is also opportunities where you can go and work, earn a good living, and then bring that back to the community, and then have our own currency within the community and have a currency for outside trading. So those are all things that can be done in the United States, and we won't draw people's attention until we get to a significant size. If we're a community of maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people, no one even is going to notice. But as soon as we start to get into, let's say, 10,000, 100,000, and we're operating as a community, that's when you're gonna start people coming around. The authorities are gonna check on you, and those kinds of things are gonna happen. So by that time, you have to be on the books, legitimate, or have everything, all the P's and Q's, all the dot all the I's and cross all the T's. So in Malawi, what is the situation with that? Let's say 1,000 of us come in there, establish a community. I don't know, are we going to need fences, compounds, and whatnot? Would that be viewed as isolationists? Would that be viewed with a hostile lens?
Yeah, before that, I'm not really sure of regulations for the people, because like you mentioned on the when you have religion, I think one of the biggest reasons that, aside from culture, one of the reasons that people can be aggressive towards you is if your religion is different. But if you mentioned that there's 70% something are Christian in my areas, and also those are Christian denominations. There are
Right.
of them. You see,
Right.
so people don't really look at one another as different in that
So
way.
is there an area in Malawi that is more?
Yes,
Is it like, okay?
yes. So they are, because of the migrating, they are tribe specific areas. You see,
So for Quran alone Muslims, is it safer in the Christian areas or is it safer in the Muslim areas?
in the Christian area, it is dangerous. In the Muslim area,
How ironic, huh? Muslims are safer in Christian areas.
even Christians in Muslim areas, when something bad happens, Muslims will always start burning churches and stuff. So
Oh, way.
yeah,
Really? Okay.
yeah, it'll just be like a day of protesting and whatever. So it always happens. It always happens in that district, and so there's a city, and also it's also the center of tourism in Malawi city, Muslim, because it's predominantly Muslim. So yeah. So there is always that, but majority is okay, because I don't think there are people who are, because they're also Shias, yeah, they are not
Hmm.
attacking. So you can't just go around attacking people. But there are always people anywhere in the world who are crazy.
I see.
Yeah, just to be
So
safe.
that's a word of appreciation for Christian brothers and sisters. Thank you for being more sane and less violent and more tolerant. Unfortunately, there's just too much of a jihala, too much,
Mm,
intolerance among the Muslims of the world today, and it breaks my heart when I see that. When
yeah,
the Book of Allah is telling us Muslim and be in peace and be
mm,
mu'min, offer security to other people,
mm.
and followers of Islam.
God gave a challenge, and then whenever people said we are the people of this book and we believe it, and then it became abominable for them to claim that title based on their behavior.
Right.
It's also the same thing with what happened with the transatlantic slave trade. They were ending it. You see, who was ending it? They had every reason to proceed with what they were doing, but
Hmm.
they realized that it was wrong. Some of the religious affiliations, but their religion is not clear on the matters of freeing of slaves. But here
Mm.
in my country, they had to pay this guy 120 kwaja every year, who was a Muslim, to not sell slaves, to stay
Yeah,
away from. They
that's
had to
that's
pay him.
crazy because because Quran is specifically saying
Yeah.
kan birra. It is righteousness that you say free
Mm,
slaves.
you see, and it's always like that. It's always fascinating. These things that are clearly stated in the Quran, and people are like proudly saying, "We are Muslims. We are Muslims." So the thing is that people are not really Ahlul Sunnah or Jama'ah.
Mm.
So that's why they say that today the argument that today amongst scholars, amongst people, if they're doing it, they're saying that we are the people of Sunnah. That is the system that they follow. It has nothing to do with the Quran. It has nothing to do with the messenger whatsoever. It's a system that they created, they sustain. They need the scholars, they need the schools that they built, because they need to sustain that system that they have built. You see, the moment they leave it and support it, it starts to collapse. They need to talk
Mm.
about everything. They need to surround you from all the places. You see?
I see. And
Yeah.
so about marriage prospects. Wanted to move to this community. Firstly, we're
Mm.
not going to be living in the Muslim quarters, let's say. We're living in the Christian heartland, and we create a community there. And what, like, if there are a lot of bachelors who care, what are the prospects for marriage?
Yeah, marriage is just like everywhere else. Mostly the biggest contributing factor to marriage, I think, is religion. People take that seriously. You need to
Okay.
have a religious identity. You cannot just present yourself and say, okay, we believe this thing. People have to refer. Say, okay, are you a Muslim? So they'll think you are those Muslims. You see, or are you? So you might have a tough time. Don't at the same time say you're a Muslim, but you don't want that person to think you are like you are like the Sunni Muslims explaining yourself, and it wouldn't even make sense to people just want a straight answer.
Mm.
And also, like, for me, I think the biggest would be the religion. That's all. The other things that they are okay. There are people who don't find a problem in religions, but for me, that's what I found as a problem when
I
it comes
see. I
to
see.
the Quran alone. It doesn't matter if you are just traveling. Even I myself struggling with that.
What I'm thinking, brother, is that if we do establish a community like that, right, and
Mm,
then we bring in the investments from outside, and I'm not clear about what would be the construction costs and raw materials and the equipment and technology that we can bring in to make it a place that is self-sustaining. Perhaps even we can have jobs, if we have high-speed internet access that we can pay for. Maybe, what is that, Starlink or whatever, and
mm,
then can do a lot of remote jobs and things like that. That's let's say hypothetically that happens, right? We create an within the country, and we show that it's a beautiful place to live, nice weather, land is great. So
mm,
that could be of attraction where we can let other people of the world know, migrate over here and have a good life.
mm,
So that would be a lot of people may be motivated by the opportunity of having a good life, you know
mm,
unmolested and with your freedoms intact, and a community that is close knit and tight, where we help each other, support each other, care about each other, and we're like loving between each other. What do you think?
In Malawi, cost, I think most of the things are affordable. It's an open market, so most that means that most they are not like it's not really dominated.
So
Monopoly.
timber, steel, um, and equipment. Let's say the excavators and clearing equipment. Like what do you call those things? Those kinds of things are affordable in Malawi.
Yeah. They are affordable. Most of like that different in terms of pricing from the parts of the world. Like for example, I was just checking how much a kg bag of cement would cost in the US.
Hmm.
So it costs around 10 to 15 USD, which is just basically the same in Malawi.
Okay. So it's the
Yeah,
same cost.
yeah, it's the cost. I don't, because the way that people build here is different from around the world. They still use local methods in which you have. So it depends on what you're
They
trying
they,
to
they still use what?
local like builders, and you just have like an design for you and all that, and then the local foreman will just come in and build for you.
Okay.
And
So
also
you'll have masons. There, like in the U.S., there's a lot of wood construction, a lot of wood framing.
it used much wood is only used for roofing and
Okay.
for furniture. So the houses are usually constructed using bricks.
Concrete block.
Yeah, very unless you usually houses don't are not built with unless they are government buildings. From around 6 years ago, the government made a policy that all government houses must be built using concrete.
I
So
see.
that's when like this market started booming, and like oh, it's just a recent kind of thing. But mostly, like majority, 99% of them are built using bricks. People burn, they create these bricks with dirt, with gray soil, and then they burn it in an oven, and then they use the cement.
Okay.
And
Because you can make that locally. You can have
all of, all
baked
of this,
clay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, for the most part, people usually do, and there are like communities that you can choose to stay in. Of course, the cities are quite. They're also like under construction right now. You see, so
Hmm.
Malawi is like it's too open. Like so many things are happening recently. If that people are now coming in, build houses. The areas in the city are like there are trees everywhere. There are forests, so it's more of a, it's been recently populated. So people are still building.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
But
but
there are not big industries yet.
there are few industries, big industries. That's why I say it's an open market. If you have a considerable investment, you can make it to the economy, because like in 50% of the GDP is from small and medium enterprises.
I see. So we'll
Yeah,
have to decide ahead of time what our community is going to be all about in order to
yeah,
contribute to that society. Are we going to be like based on arts and entertainment? Are we going to be STEM, science and technology?
as
Yeah,
well, because you don't want to be locked in one just field. There can be diversification based on what works, but there are people who just choose to explore markets that profits they're already profitable, they're already proven quick, so people just go in that direction. But the
I
Maran
see.
government has always been they've always been inviting like investors from up to join other. So they are very very welcoming when you come in to try to do something and contribute,
Fantastic.
because the local population don't really have enough capital to
I
take that
see.
up.
So if we bring in the capital, then we can get affordable labor locally,
Yeah,
process the raw materials, and export. So if
yeah, you
we
can do that.
so
And
before we start moving there, we need to an export market where we are, and then we can move to Malawi to create that export
yeah,
industry.
and yeah, and also you can, if you have that, means you have a story. Because like I said, I don't know about regulations and how it works, but if you present your case like that, you have a very good story that people are going to like, and they are going to offer you a lot of assistance to your community to do that, because they can
Okay.
see what you're going to contribute. Yeah,
That sounds like a great trial run that we could put together. As far as there are different echelon or different strata of society and different people who'd like to do different things. Some people are survivors; they have the settler mentality and spirit, and
Mm.
they can go to a new land and just suss it out, see how it is, and other people can. And to have someone like yourself locally over there, you can perhaps guide us in what's the. Now, are you living in a predominantly Muslim area or you're in a Christian area?
I'm in a Christian area, but I Muslim area, and the Muslim area is my home. It's where I go because for me, if I go to the Muslim area, even if I was, no matter how whatever and however I announce myself, it's not that people can attack me. It's because my family is from there, so those people, even aside from religion, they still consider me as their son, as their child. It doesn't matter who it is, because like I said,
Okay.
that everyone knows everyone.
There's a
But they,
tribal.
yeah. There's more tribal origin than there is. So, So when it comes to, because I grew up, place is at least much better. It's different from the other Muslim communities.
I see. I see.
So it's quite people are like very, because I think in the area, that was a place where the entire slave trade in Malawi was happening. So it was happening
Wow.
where the guy who was receiving money from the not sale slaves was living. So he was like the monarch.
So
So that
the were giving money to the Malawians trade in
trade.
slavery.
Yeah. So there was a guy who was doing trade in Malawi. Who was Salim ibn Abdullah, who was a Swahili from Zanzibar, right
Hey.
from where I come from. Then that's where he set up his community. He established himself as a monarch. Everyone was converted to Islam who was living there.
Oh my God.
So he brought guns. So when he brought guns, those days than most people. So he also took over the royal house of a specific tribe. So they are just dormant.
They were so that the Arab Muslim guys, everybody, and they were the ones who were profiting off of the slave trade, huh?
Yes. So also that guy marks the coming of
That's
that.
the arrival of Islam in Malawi. I see.
Yeah, so that was like the beginning of Muslims coming into Malawi and settling in Malawi. So that was there. So after that, I think that's when they coming in, because that guy came a year before the British, and he was just interested in his own territory. He wasn't really expanding. He was just focused on where he was. As long as people came to him and traded with him, and then so he was buying and selling people. That's what he was doing. So by the Lake Malawi, he would ship them using the lake all the way to Tanzania, and then they would travel to Zanzibar after that.
I
So
see.
that's how. So they were the descendants of that guy. So he was Jumbe the first, and there was another guy who was. So they were like inheriting father to son.
So wait a minute. So you said the British, when they came in, they were paying him to buy slaves, or they were paying him not to have slaves?
Okay, so the British at that time they destroyed the market for slave to stop slave trade.
I see. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, they were paying, and that's also one of the reasons why for me I needed to find a center that aligned with me with the Quran. One of the things that really bothered me was how this guy was a Muslim. You see, like that,
Yeah.
that was like one of the things that
Right.
this guy was a Muslim, and even the British reached at this point of paying him for him to stop buying and selling people.
My God.
They had to like pay him. They paid him for some time, and then they just arrested the guys after the British came in for force. That's when they started coming in, building schools and all of that. That's when people started converting to Christianity as well. There was like most of Christians region belong to the English church, the Anglican church.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's unbelievable.
that's
It's so revealing and so enlightening to hear directly, the history from kind of a region. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast and let us know about these things, brother.
Thank you for
And
bringing me.
in the future, I want to have such discussions with you, inshallah. And today's podcast is going to be split into two. There's going to be episodes 7 and 8 because
Because I can see it has been pretty long. It has been pretty long.
much, brother. Do you have any parting words? Anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I have a few points I wanted to
Please.
because I don't consider myself to be the most learned person in the Quran space. I would love to like communicate with someone who is average, just like me, struggles like me, and everything. I think when we are like struggling with my friend, because I haven't been likely enough. I've had also friends who from Logai who are Quran alone Muslims who, when the message got to them, they sat down.
Wasn't your friend supposed to come today?
Yeah, that he hasn't been well for some days now. thought that today maybe he might feel better, but he didn't. He didn't
Okay.
make it. So one of the biggest things that we understood that a Muslim is a good person. So I understand that that would be like very difficult to comprehend for most people, but it's the description that we have in the Quran is describing someone who is at the surface. This is a good person. So it's also describing who exactly they are, not just what they do. Because
Hmm.
if you take this as an example, let's say that you live in a society, you live in a community, you live in a small town, and in that there have been in the past 10 years, in consecutive 10 years, there have been 10 murders.
Hmm.
So there's a serial killer who kills people every year. They kill one person this year, the same method. They do that, they don't find him. And when he did it for the 11th time, they catch him. And then they tie all the him and they're like, this is the guy. And he even admits that he's the one who was committing all those murders. And now, after they arrest him, they jail him for life. And then another 10 years pass by, and there haven't been any murders. You see? So now you are an editor to a news agency. Someone has brought to you a very interesting topic
Hmm.
that there are no murders in this in the that guy changed. He's not serial killer. So the question that I always ask people is that the correct representation of what is happening? So you find that everyone agrees that you cannot just say that person has changed because he's in prison. So there are no murders because he's in prison. So why
Hmm.
is he staying in prison? Why is he not committing further murders in prison? Why is there are so many people in prison he can kill? Why doesn't he kill them? So that this means he changed. He's no longer the person that he was. See,
Hmm.
so mostly when we are what it means, we usually ignore the whether or not he's in traditional prison, that he's not himself. So because what the Sunni doctrine is, it offers people wars that put them in check. In turn, they assume that they're righteous. See, just because they're doing the rituals, like for example,
The
if a last
rituals.
yeah, because there are restrictions that the religion itself to do. Because you're following that, you feel good about yourself.
That's it.
You
We're,
feel
we're gonna go to Jannah or house reserved.
yeah. And you feel bad if you don't participate in the rituals. You say, but
Right.
I didn't do
Guilty.
this, do that. But you're forgetting that there is who are you yourself? Take all the away, take everything away. What remains? If we get you out of prison, are you going to be a serial killer or not? We'll never know until we get you out. But that's just because you're in prison doesn't mean you're a person or you have changed. No. And also, there's also this story in Malawi, which is just going to take a minute.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
this
go ahead.
guy who was there was a guy who had a wife who was married. He was not a Muslim; he was a Christian. So he belonged to this CCAP. It's known as CCAP, the Central Presbyterian Church. This one I've just forgotten what it stands for. I did was around Christmas holiday. So I don't know other parts in the world, but in Malawi, when it's time for Christmas, people usually travel to their home villages, home wherever they come from, to see their parents, and so they usually have that holiday over there. So when that guy's wife traveled, he stayed alone because he had one child and his wife was pregnant. So she had
Okay.
traveled with the child and he was left alone. So it's a town, and he has friends because he has friends from college, and he's like they are calling him, wait, where are you? This is you're just sleeping there. He was like, I'm Jeff has left. He's left. She has left. She has gone to visit her family and stuff. And I didn't go with her because I had some things to do at work. And then people were, hey, just come here. We'll have a few drinks and we'll chill and all of that. Then he's like, I don't know about that. They're like, why do you like to you know how boys are? And then he's like, okay, I'm coming. He travels. He goes there. He finds that people there, there are ladies there, and he's like, oh, this is a good place. And then he's talking to people there. The people introduced him to a woman there, right? A girl. Hey, do this one, talk to this one. In madness, he doesn't know how to talk to ladies. So they tell a girl to start speaking to him. So having a conversation with this woman, they talk, and then he likes talking to this woman. He enjoys having a conversation with her. And if she finds out that she is a medical doctor, she has a bachelor's degree. She's what are you doing here? She's just here for a few drinks and all of that. And it's like, oh, wow, So so she's like he's like into her having they leaving the other friends there, and then they continue chilling until it is late night, and then they go to the guy's place and bad things happen there.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's left the exchange numbers, but he calls his friends and he's saying, "Where do you find these girls? That was a good girl." And they're like, hey, that girl, nice. So you talk to her and everything, talking about what they did last night.
Right.
Days go by, that girl calls him and she says, "So do you think all of that was for free? Like, because I thought you were like human, that you send me money asking you, but you don't pay me. So you think I'd free and all of that." And the guy was disappointed, just took out money and sent it to her. Like, so after some time, the wife comes back, and then after like a week, that girl calls him again. She says, "I need," so you have to like. He's like, "No, I already pay you. I don't have to pay you again." You see. So the girl is like, so I'm going to tell your wife now. If you me, I'm going to tell your wife.
Mm.
So the guy is like, this is trouble. He sends money to her. After another week, she calls again. Now she's like blackmailing him. "If you don't send me money, I'm going to tell your wife." So now the guy went on a public forum in Malawi. He wanted help. He wanted people to help him what to do. Him, he's an active member of the church.
Mm.
It will not be good on his reputation. You see, he believes that.
Hello. He was just describing or telling a story about the honey trap that someone fell for, and I guess he's having an issue with his connection.
You can hear me, right?
I can hear you
Yeah.
fine. We're in the same house.
Oh, sorry, I think my internet just went away for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So you were telling us about the honey trap. She's
The
now
lady.
blackmailing him about the
Yeah.
church.
Yeah. So she's blackmailing him, but he has gone for help. The help he's looking for is to help him with ideas, because one is she's taking a lot of money. Two, because he can no longer afford her. Then this one is she's going to tell the wife, and then things are going to go out, and then everyone will know what he has done. And then he's a
Right.
member of the church, and then he's a good Christian, and he worships, and this is not for him.
Right.
He's also a member of he's in a committed church as well. So from this, I was reading this, and I paused for a moment. The whole reason why he's complaining that this will come out, I think, is because something with him and God is going to fail. Something is going to go wrong with him and God. But it's in fact referring to his religious institution as that which is going to not see him in good light. Yet, when he was doing all of that, he's not worried at any point in time
That's
that
true.
God was
He'll
seeing
get
him
caught.
of that. You see?
And that kind of mindset's what originally got him in that situation as well.
You see? So the view of what religion is, what it still goes back to that prison in the dark when no one else is looking at them. That religious institution, the walls collapse, and people can do as this. That's how we can tell who exactly they are. There are some people who do this openly, and we came to an understanding that this church now in itself as an institution, this is like an idol, because people are worshiping it, are listening to it. They do not want to disobey the laws that are set up. But it's no longer about God at all. It is just something that's a representation, a mark that people look up to for clarity. It is the source of law for them. See. So this is the same for any religious, including the Sunni religious systems. These are just markings that people serve, that people admire. That's why it's so important for a person to belong to that ummah. It's not necessarily for the benefit of you yourself as an individual, but it benefits the system entirely. If in the majority their strength increases and they have much authority and all of that. It's also something that makes sense depending on the medieval period that you needed support, you needed to have large armies and all of that.
Right.
But then those are all just idols. And I used to talk about this a lot with my friend, especially when we're interpreting the issue of repentance and tawbah and also forgiveness, what that actually means. Because he was bringing me a Sunni case that God forgives everything except shirk, in which we know that it says that, and in the Quran, Allah is saying that He forgives and he accept repentance for anything except he accept repentance for only done out of ignorance. So we're looking at that, but then at the same time he's saying that he forgives all sins. You see, tell those my servants who have wronged themselves, you see, that they should turn to me in repentance because Allah forgives all sins. You see, but there he's saying also he doesn't forgive uh, mixing him with other gods. You see,
Right.
those who mix him with other gods. At the same time, that he accepts repentance only when you have done it in Jaharan. At the same time, he's saying, but he doesn't accept for those who persist in wrongdoing. You see, and then we were deducing all of that, and with those old stories, the prisons and everything. So there was an, and I think, and also in the Quran it says that, have you seen one who takes his desires as gods besides as another god beside Allah? I think if, I know
Mhm.
I don't know whether you're familiar with this, but it's also a Quranic statement that talks about that. So we're like connecting all of this to understand what is going on. And also it says that all you who are mu'min, whenever someone comes with news, you have to verify it, lest you could harm people and then regret thereafter. So you can
Right.
see that there's a nature, a certain character tied to people who establish Iman. It's not just because of what they do, but even when they do something wrong, they feel a sense of regret stemming from who they are. You see, and it's these people who, when they, and God is so challenging that if they do wrong, it is because they have died of ignorance. You can see how challenging that is. You see,
It's
that
true.
they do it. Yeah, if even Musa, when Musa was talking to Pharaoh, Pharaoh was telling him the things that he did. And Musa was like, I was doing that because I was ignorant. Even the Swiss believe that. They believe that, oh, this is. But when it comes to characters, it's just like something that weighs heavy on the day of resurrection. So my
There's
advice.
this there's this verse right here on Surah Nisa 48. It
Mm,
says Allah does not forgive that a partner is ascribed to him, and he
mm,
forgives anything short of that for
mm,
whosoever he wills. Whoever
yeah.
ascribes a partner to Allah commits a terrible sin. So in the
Mm,
440 it says Allah does not forgive the shirk.
yeah, 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 yeah. It does say that. And the issue is that he also that which you are done out of ignorance.
True. Yeah.
You see? So what is going on here? So what if
Was
is
that done
done
out of ignorance? Yeah. Okay.
see? So can she be done out of ignorance?
Right.
Actually mean, you see, because for us, when we talk about shirk, we are looking at the worshipping of other gods other than Allah, in the sense that you have bowed down before idols, you have served them, you have maybe you. If you go to a Christian church, you are definitely committing shirk. If you go to a witch doctor, you are committing shirk. If you consider something Lord other than Allah, you're committing shirk. But
Right.
yet, even in the very opening statement of Sunnis, when we are doing so, even in the system that we have built, we still have tenets of that. So shirk is looked at directly like that. But then God says that, have you seen one who follows his desires? If you do something wrong today, if you, let's say, if you kill someone today, or you have immediately say that thereafter, he realizes that this was wrong. So ignorance is not this of not knowing, but just a lapse in judgment, just like Adam did in the garden. It's not that he didn't know that this fruit, eating this thing is wrong, but he and his understanding was that he was just taken over somehow, like tricked, lapse in judgment. But he thereafter that he has done something wrong. You see, it has gone against his own character. Now, what would have happened if after you have stolen, you're like, doesn't matter. You see, and you need more, you need to do more. You see what is commanding you now, like
Right.
because yeah, your desires and you want the things that you want good life, you want this, you want easy money, and then you steal from people and you go on. Now you have now the verses are correlating in the sense that you will realize at some point that something is going on here, and you pursue it. You are persisting. So God doesn't forgive those who persist, and when they die, they say, "Now I have changed," because that would not
Right.
make sense. You say, now I repent. So you only forgive in ignorance, because at the end of the day, if you did turn away and you said, this is completely wrong, that means you were all of this were in a state of ignorance.
Hmm.
You see, you were in a state of ignorance, and at that point, that's what has made you to realize something has made you that you are doing something wrong. You see, so we are looking at shirk as having the component is also having that persistence towards wrongdoing. You see, that constitutes also to shirk as well. So that he doesn't forgive that is simply because it's just another way of saying that you're not going to be asking for forgiveness. You're not going to be repenting. You're not going to change. Because repentance, I think, in the Sunni space is something that you go to the mosque and say, Astaghfirullah, I was doing something wrong. Now I forgive
Or
me,
you can
forgive me.
have a prayer beating go stuff. Yeah.
So like some sort of God is like making mathematical equations and calculating. But also you're gonna who is deducing with you that if you do that, how many did you have? I did 7. Layat Rogaris.
And then if you fast for the Ramadan and then 6 more days, that's a whole 360 days of forgiveness.
Yeah. But yet, when we say that change your character, be good, be a good person, that looks almost impossible to achieve. You cannot compare with Ibrahim. He was a messenger. Ibrahim was favored. Who are you to say we should be like Ibrahim? I'm not the one telling you we should be like Ibrahim. It is Allah Himself who is saying we should be like Ibrahim.
That's right.
And when we do something wrong, God is saying that we are so good, so much of good people, that when we do something, it is because we are ignorant, because we are. If we were in our right mind, something wrong is happening, we would not do it. We will not join in. That's how. That's
a good
the
point.
that's just, yeah. So that's all I can say. Just also be patient. The people who are Quran with the Sunni narrative, you find that they didn't have an entire Quranic. They didn't have the entire read. See, but then they were patient enough. They waited. Some of them even died in the process, afraid that, oh, if I die tomorrow, I don't know these things, I don't know that thing, then what will be my fate? You see, but there were people who died even before the book. And also, if you remember, you have to know that if you look at all the messengers in the Quran, Allah said they are warners. So that has always been that has been fascinating to me. I think about it. Like they are warners. Why do you send someone to warn someone? Send someone to warn you, it means you are doing something wrong. You yourself would recognize that you are doing something wrong. So I'm warning you, don't do this. Don't be doing this. This is completely wrong. Then about you that you would know that, oh, this is wrong, because your warning comes after there is already a law. There was already something you're supposed to do that you're doing wrong. Someone warns you about it. Or else, if you didn't know, what would be the point of warning you? See, if you didn't know that this was wrong, this was right. So all messengers were coming as warners, and they were coming to who? Tyrants. The Quran calls them mujrimun, who are criminals. You see, people who are the mujrimun, people who do accept that this is a person who is a non-criminal, who is a bad person. Also agree to say that if they made a mistake, that's entirely different. But if you steal, people are very quick about giving labels to a thief. This person is a thief. He steals. You see, if people warn you that stop stealing, that means they are already universally accept in their society that stealing is wrong. That if you are told that it would make sense to you, it would be something that. So Muslims, I think that time would have come from anywhere. What we are given in Surah Al-Isra, that God, the essence of the scripture, is about the hikmah. What is Quran all about? If I meet you today and I ask you, what is this book talking about? So he says that you shall save no other. Then he starts talking about your parents. He starts saying that you go to the
Right.
Everything summarizes the entire doctrine for you, that even without any sort of ambiguity, any sensible person reads that, you will see that, okay, this is describing a good person. In any society, if you in any society, will be describing a good person.
Yeah.
And it is also very clear. You don't need to watch 1,000 YouTube videos to understand that and use that as an excuse. The establishment of making you good is very straightforward. You see it in the very first weeks. If you study the Quran, if you study it all, you see it. The pattern will be very clear that, okay, this being described here as someone that even people would understand that this is a good person. And good people have this tendency that once they die, people study them. They write books about them. When you go to school 100 years later in the future, you'll be learning about those people. You see, they might not be the people that saved God alone, but you will universally recognize that these were doing good in the world.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's all I think I can say for now.
Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom and knowledge and experience with us, inshallah.